Phoenix Nights. Chapter 41. I can't give him a chance. I need old Liang to follow me at all times. Si Bai Rong was really worried that this brat called Dong Bo Shuang would plot against him during the mission. I'll let this brat off the hook for now. Once the mission is over, let's see how I'll deal with him. A 22-year-old Silver Moon Knight? A Silver Moon Knight was only one step away from becoming a legend ranker. However, this step was like a chasm between heaven and earth. From an ordinary knight to a Silver Moon Knight, one had to rely on one's talent and some powerful battle chi techniques to break through. For example, Si Bai Rong was able to become a Silver Moon Knight with the help of his family. However, he was stuck at the Silver Moon Knight rank. A Silver Moon Knight had a very high requirement for one's soul. One had to reach the realm of one with the heavens, and then use the power of heaven and earth to break through. One with the heavens? Si Bai Rong had been a Silver Moon Knight for many years. Tang Xiong and Liang Yong had also been Silver Moon Knights for many years. However, they were completely clueless about one with the heavens. Mages were different. Knights relied on their bodies, but mages valued wisdom more. Mages needed to study the heavens and earth, dissect nature, and study many rules in order to master certain spells. Therefore, the more powerful a mage was, the more intelligent they would be. Generally speaking, those who could become Silver Moon mages were all extraordinarily intelligent. That was why Jingqiu was so stunning. She was so talented at such a young age. If she continued to study the heavens and earth, there was a high possibility that she would reach the realm of one with the heavens in the next 100 years of her life. Mages relied on research to master one with the heavens. However, it was difficult for a knight to master one with the heavens. Many knights were uneducated and did not know how to master one with the heavens. Therefore, although Dingbo Shuang was considered a 22-year-old Silver Moon Knight, he was not as important as Jingqiu. Most people believe that Shuang had relied on his body's innate talent to cultivate all the way to the Silver Moon rank in one go. Dongbua Shuiying's spear technique had reached the level of a master. For the past 6 years, he had been cultivating in the bamboo house at the back of the mountain, comprehending the nature of heaven and earth. However, he had not reached the realm of one with the heavens yet. However, his strong body gave him the strength of a peak legend ranker. Once his power bloodline was activated, his strength would double. Even amongst the legend rankers, he was considered one of the top few. A lucky brat dares to challenge me? He really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Si Bai Rong gritted his teeth and walked back to his cabin. Jingqiu. Si Bai Rong walked over to Jingqiu. What's the matter? Jingqiu, who had been meditating with her eyes closed, opened her eyes. When we attack the Lu clan's castle, we have to be careful, especially that Dongbua Shuang. That brat is too young and immature. I'm worried that he will secretly sabotage our plans. Si Bai Rong lowered his voice and said, When the time comes, just follow me and old Liang. We will definitely protect you. Why would he do that? Jingqiu was puzzled. You just need to be careful. Si Bai Rong did not explain further and walked away. Jingqiu frowned. She looked at Si Bai Rong and then at the black-robed youth, Dongbua Shuang, who was also sitting cross-legged on the other side. She muttered to herself. Both of them went to the deck earlier. Could it be that they had a conflict? That Dongbua Shuang does not seem like a reckless person. And I hope that there won't be any accidents during this mission. She was also a little worried. Phew! Dongbua Shuang was sitting cross-legged on the deck. His heartbeat was gradually slowing down, and so was his breathing. However, his perception of the world around him was getting clearer and clearer. He could sense the auras around him. Jingqiu's, Tang Xiong's, Si Bai Rong's, Liang Yong's, and the two who were driving the airship. His heart was as calm as water, as calm as a mirror, reflecting the world around him. The sky gradually darkened. The silver-white airship continued to fly through the clouds. We're here. Dongbua Shuiying's breathing gradually returned to normal. His blood flow also returned to normal. He looked outside and sensed that the speed of the airship was obviously decreasing. Everyone, we can prepare to disembark. We will soon reach the Liu family's castle. The Dragon Mountain Manor member said. We're almost there? The battle is about to start. Everyone stood up. They were about to face a big battle, but their moods were different. See by Rome, this was the first time he had accepted such a dangerous mission. Therefore, he had specially brought along a Silver Moon Knight to protect him. He was nervous and uneasy, and he wanted to show off his strength in front of Jingqiu. Tang Xiong, on the other hand, was very calm. He was an old man who had lived for more than 160 years. He had experienced all kinds of storms and waves. Lian Yong was cautious because he had to protect Si Bai Rong. This was the first time Jingqiu had accepted a mission. Although she was nervous, her magician nature allowed her to face everything calmly. Dongbu Shuang? As a legend ranker, he was not afraid. He was just curious about the Liu family's castle. Everyone. Jingqiu and the other four walked to the deck and looked down. They could see the majestic castle below. At this moment, the flying boat was only 300 meters away from the castle. However, due to the fog on the surface of the flying boat, the people below could not see the boat at all. Later, I will cast a spell to envelop everyone. We will directly jump down and quietly sneak into the Liu family's castle. Jingqiu said. If we can quietly sneak in and kill Liu Huairu, that would be the best. Okay, we will listen to Jingqiu. Si Bai Rong was the first to agree. It is our luck to have a Silver Moon magician with us. Tang Xiong laughed. Clang. Dongbu Shuang pulled out the two halves of the spear from the weapon box on his back and began to connect the two halves of the Feishui godly spear. Si Bai Rong saw this and curled his lips. With a flip of his hand, a two-handed great sword appeared in his hand. Everyone was ready to fight at any time. Jingqiu, who was wearing a green robe, held a staff in her hand. Suddenly, a whirlwind swept everyone up. Let's go down. Jingqiu said. Let's go. The five of them jumped down from the airship at the same time. In fact, with their strength, any one of them could easily jump down from a height of more than 300 meters. The main purpose of the whirlwind was to adjust the landing point and conceal them. Dongbu Shuang looked down. As they landed, the whirlwind controlled them to fly towards the roof of the inner castle of the Liu family's castle. The whole inner castle was like a strange octagonal monster lying on the roof. At the same time, a strong wind blew from below. The wind was whistling, blowing away the leaves and grass, making it difficult for some of the soldiers to open their eyes. So. With the help of the whirlwind, the five of them quietly landed on the roof. Let's go in. Si Bai Rong held his great sword with both hands, full of fighting spirit. 1. The entire inner castle's roof was very big. At this moment, a dazzling red light shone from it. Under the light, Dongbu Shuang and the other four had nowhere to hide. Assassins! A cold voice came from the inner castle, resounding through every corner of the castle. They are on the roof, kill them! Assassins! They are on the roof, kill them! There were a large number of patrolling soldiers on the outer castle walls. Some of the patrolling soldiers in the inner castle also immediately discovered the assassins. Immediately, more than 200 star-breaking crossbows were aimed at them. The Liu family had a meteor-level master who was proficient in alchemy and 4 meteor-level knights. With such strength, naturally, the soldiers in the inner castle were also very good. We have been discovered. Tang Xiang said. So what if we have been discovered? At most, we will just kill them all. Si Bai Rong sneered. This time, we are targeting the Liu family. If you want to stop us, you will only be courting death. Jingqiu, who was holding her staff, said. Her voice was cold and pleasant to the ears, resounding through every corner of the castle. At the same time, along with her voice, a large amount of frost appeared in the surrounding area, causing the temperature of the surrounding air to drop sharply. A thick layer of frost condensed on the ground, and some of the soil was completely frozen. The entire Liu family's castle had turned into a huge ice castle. All the soldiers were covered in frost, and were shivering. Cold, so cold! Some of the soldiers directly shivered and fell to the ground. Withdraw from the frost domain and you will live. Otherwise, you will only freeze to death, Jingqiu said. She still had a kind heart for these weak soldiers. Who? Dongbu Shuang looked at the surrounding frost and felt the extremely cold temperature. He was amazed. Jingqiu was indeed an expert in the ice element. The range of the frost domain was just enough to cover the entire castle. The extremely cold temperature was not to the point where it could instantly freeze people to death. This kind of control was really amazing. Of course, if people were to be frozen for a long time, they would still die. Quickly go, quickly go. Some of the stronger soldiers immediately pulled some of the weaker soldiers and fled. Some of the servants in the castle also fled. The 2,000 to 3,000 soldiers were unable to resist the frost domain, and could only flee. In such a cold environment, they were shivering from the cold. Their fingers were numb and they couldn't even control the star-shattering crossbows. Let's go. Jingqiu held her staff, while Dongbu Shuang and the other 3 jumped down from the roof. Since they could not sneak in quietly, they could only attack directly. Humph, a bunch of idiots. Completely useless. Seeing the soldiers outside flee, Lu Huairu coldly snorted and quickly ran down the corridor, continuously rushing towards the secret area of the inner castle. It seems that I will have to rely on myself and a few protectors. It's fine if you don't come in, but if you dare to enter the inner castle that I built, then you will die. Lu Huairu was very confident. His traps and arrays, even 3 to 5 Silver Moon Knights would die if they came. Not to mention that there was a great Lord Divine Envoy living here, which made him very confident. Chapter 42. This huge octagonal inner castle covered an area of about 1 to 2 miles. Who knew how many traps were hidden inside? Lu Huairu is hiding inside. We have to kill our way in. Bai Rong hesitated as he looked at the corridor in front of him. The corridor led to the depths of the inner castle. But I'm afraid there are many traps inside. We need a knight who is good at protecting himself to lead the way. Dongbu Shuang revealed a smile. This Bai Rong was obviously trying to gain some face, but he was also afraid of danger. How did he manage to reach the Silver Moon rank? Tang Xiong and Liang Yong were both calm and collected. Their gazes landed on Jingqiu. Rushing in blindly is equivalent to courting death. Jingqiu's voice was cold, but it was enough to calm everyone down. Although Lu Huairu is only a meteor rank mage, he is an expert in alchemy. He must have set up many traps. Even if a Silver Moon Knight were to rush in blindly, it would be difficult for him to survive. You guys wait here. I will cast a spell to lead the way. As she spoke, Jingqiu held the staff in her hand and her lips moved slightly, silently chanting an incantation. Actually, chanting an incantation was a form of self-hypnosis. After all, some powerful spells were too difficult to cast. Without self-hypnosis, one would not be able to cast the spell. As for some of the weaker spells, there was no need to chant an incantation to cast them. For example, the ice frost domain from before was no longer a problem for Jingqiu. Hua hua hua! Suddenly, a large amount of ice started to condense in front of them. Very quickly it formed a huge ice snake the size of a bucket, about 20 meters long. The snake's entire body was crystal clear, and its head was raised high with a cold, killing intent. The invisible pressure it emitted made Bai Rong, Tang Xiong and the rest feel a sense of dread. Level 5 spell, Ice Snake. Dongbu Shuang nodded his head. This kind of spell does not have any weak points, and its strength is much higher than a Silver Moon Knight's. In terms of strength, it is comparable to a legend ranker. If there were 10 of them, they would be able to threaten a legend ranker. However, a legend ranker is one with the heavens, and under the suppression of heaven and earth, they would not be able to cast any spells. Jingqiu held the staff in her hand and continued chanting silently. After a while, another equally large ice snake appeared beside him. My magic power is limited, and I still have to face the unknown situation below. We need to use them sparingly, Jingqiu said. These 2 frost snakes should be enough to pave the way. Haha, We have a great mage silverman with us. Like I said, we're lucky. Tang Xiong chuckled. This frost snake doesn't have any vital points. If we scout ahead, we'll be risking our lives. Jingqiu is still the best. Alright, let's go. Jingqiu, you'll be in the middle of the four of us. Old Liang and I will be in front. Dongwu Shuang and Tang Xiong will be in the back. Just now, he didn't dare to rush forward. Now that there were two ice snakes at the front, he was full of confidence. In the spacious corridor, two huge ice snakes slithered forward, one in front and one behind. Every now and then they would stop and hit the walls with their tails. Rumble, the corridor shook violently. Some of the runes were forcefully destroyed, and some of the weaker walls collapsed. Some of the traps were destroyed, and some of the traps were activated. Their attacks landed on the body of the ice snakes. Even though they managed to pierce a hole in the ice, the cold air on the surface of the snake's body quickly filled up the hole. The only difference was that the snake's body had shrunk slightly. Every time it attacked, every time it was injured, the ice snakes would continuously lose their ice energy. When they could no longer withstand it, they would completely collapse. But before they collapsed, they had no vital points. They could attack crazily without any fear of death. So scary. Dongwu Shuang sighed inwardly as he watched from behind. If a mage is given enough time, the threat they pose is much greater than that of a knight. I heard that the power of a mage's spell formation is even greater. A mage was more like a scholar, studying and analyzing the world. The spells they cast were also incomparably exquisite. If they had enough time to cast their spells slowly, they could easily kill a knight. If they were given half a year to set up a powerful spell formation, the power would be even greater. On the other hand, a knight was even more ferocious. Knights were able to burst forth in an instant and slaughter their way to the front. The more powerful a knight was, the faster his speed would be. For example, Shuang could cover a distance of over 100 meters in the blink of an eye. Ordinary people could not even see his figure clearly. Such a frightening speed. If he really wanted to assassinate a mage, the mage would not even be able to react in time. Therefore, both mages and knights had their own advantages. Boom, boom, boom. The pure strength of the ice snakes was close to that of a legend ranker. If they were to fight in close combat, they might be a little clumsy. However, when it came to destroying corridors, they were extremely proficient. Following a series of rumbling sounds, many walls collapsed. Many traps did not even have the chance to activate, and many arrays were destroyed from the start. However, the interior of the castle was indeed very stable. Even if some of the walls were destroyed, the castle itself was still supported by other supporting walls, so it did not collapse. Haha, with Jingqiu here, we will be much more relaxed. Whatever traps or arrays are of no threat to us. Bai Rong laughed. Don't be careless. Jingqiu held the staff in her hand, carefully observing all the movements in front of her. For a powerful master alchemist, some of the traps are unexpected. Although my two frost serpents have continuously destroyed them, I can only say that more than 90% of the traps will be destroyed. I don't have absolute confidence that it will be safe, so I have to be careful. More than 90%, no problem. Furthermore, that Lu Huairu, I'm afraid that he is not as powerful as Jingqiu thinks. Jingqiu, in the Eternal Wind Academy, you have come into contact with extremely powerful experts. How can Lu Huairu compare to you? Bai Rong said. Although he said so, when it came to actions, he had always followed the lead of his experienced bodyguard, Lian Yong. Obviously, he was still very careful. In the depths of the inner castle, in a large hall, Lu Huairu was sitting on a throne high up in the hall, frowning. Beside him stood 3 subordinates, all of whom were meteor knights. Damn it, I didn't expect that mage to be a silver moon mage. Lu Huairu frowned. Previously, he had only seen the thick layer of frost outside. Even some mortals could not be frozen to death, so he thought that it was not that powerful. Thus, he did not dare to show his face. He did not even see the appearances of Dongwu Shuang and the other 4, so naturally, he did not know that Jingqiu had arrived. Altar Master, what should we do? The 3 bodyguards looked at him. What else can we do? 2 ice snakes wreaked havoc and destroyed many places. My magic formations were all destroyed, and some of the purely mechanical traps weren't of any use anymore. Even if they are activated, they will only consume a little of the power of the ice snakes. Lu Huairu shook his head. It seems that we only have one chance. His entire inner castle was filled with traps and mechanisms, so naturally, there were some places that could kill. But with 2 ice snakes, only the stupidest and most difficult to destroy trap could be used to its maximum potential. There is a fatal trap in the 7th corridor, Lu Huairu said. It is the most powerful trap that I have set up. However, with those 2 ice snakes blocking in front, I am afraid that this trap can only kill 2 to 3 Silver Moon Knights. Thus, I need the 3 of you to act. When they are heavily injured by the trap, the 3 of you will go and kill them. Humph! At the most critical moment, the 3 of you who are comparable to Silver Moon Knights will kill them. They will definitely die. Yes. The 3 bodyguards respectfully complied. Following which, they took out the pendants hanging on their chests with some heartache. The pendants could be opened, revealing a small blood-red crystal inside. The 3 of them raised their heads and swallowed the small blood-red crystal. Following which, their skin started to turn red. The blood in their bodies started to surge, and the do-chi in their bodies started to change. This was their life-saving item, the demonic waterstone. It was useless for legend rankers, but for meteor knights and silver moon knights, it would greatly increase their strength. The weaker one's strength was, the more obvious the effect would be. An ordinary meteor knight would be able to reach the strength of a silver moon knight in a short period of time after consuming it. Of course, after the effects of the medicine wore off, they would be exhausted for 2 to 3 days. Even so, this kind of treasure that could greatly increase one's strength was extremely precious. Even though they were the bodyguards of this altar, they were only given 1 each. Don't feel distressed. After this, we will definitely move away. When the time comes, I will personally apply to help you get another one, Lu Huairu said. Quickly go and wait at the back of the 7th corridor. Yes. The 3 red-skin protectors immediately walked out. At this moment, a monster-like robust man walked in from the side door. His footsteps faintly caused the entire hall to tremble. Seeing this, Lu Huairu immediately stood up obediently. This monster-like robust man casually said, "What's wrong? Did you run into trouble? Reporting to Lord Oracle, I am afraid that this place has been exposed," Lu Huairu said. Exposed? The monster-like robust man walked to the side of the throne and directly sat down. He frowned and coldly snorted. They didn't discover me, right? If they discovered Lord Oracle, they wouldn't just send a few Silver Moon rankers. I am afraid that they would directly send Si Liang Hong or Xiang Pengyun. They might even send a transcendent, Lu Huairu said. There were differences in strength between legend rankers. An ordinary legend ranker would only be able to obtain a bronze order. Those who were more powerful would be able to rank in the top 3,000 of the entire empire. There was still a huge difference between being on the list and not being on the list. As for Si Lianghong, she was an old blood demon monster that had lived for hundreds of years. Xiang Pengyun was even more ferocious. Within the entire Dragon Mountain Empire, the 2 of them could be ranked around the top 500. They were far above ordinary legend rankers. How many Silver Moon rankers? The monster-like robust man sneered. In front of me, they are nothing more than ants. What a pity, after recuperating here for a while, they have to leave. Chapter 43. In the hidden passageway of the 7th corridor, 3 protectors were standing guard with weapons in their hands. They're here. Suddenly, the taller protector said in a low voice. A rumbling sound could be heard from outside, causing the ground to tremble. The skinny protector walked to the front and looked through the peephole. He saw that the 2 frost snakes had already reached the corner of the hall. Their huge bodies slammed into the walls of the hall, causing the ground to cave in and the walls to crack. These 2 frost snakes are really ruthless. So many mechanisms have been destroyed. Luckily, the mechanisms of the 7th corridor were the least affected. The skinny protector muttered. There were many types of mechanisms, and not all of them could be destroyed by the frost snakes. Get ready. Wait for the intruders to enter the hall before activating the mechanisms, the taller protector said. They're coming in. Listen to my command. The skinny protector looked through the peephole. Dongbu Shuang and the other 4 followed the 2 frost snakes into the inner castle. They were looking for Lu Huairu. Because the inner castle was octagonal, there were a total of 8 halls at the corners. At this moment, they had entered one of the halls. Si Bai Rong and the black-haired old man Liang Yong walked in front, while Jing Qiu held her staff and walked in the middle. She had already cast an ice spell on herself, and her body was covered with a layer of ice armor. Dongbu Shuang and Tang Xiong were at the back of the group, respectively on Jing Qiu's left and right sides. This inner castle is quite big. Where is Lu Huairu hiding? Si Bai Rong asked anxiously. Don't worry, Jing Qiu said. We'll check every place carefully. The inner castle is octagonal, and we've already checked 6 areas. This will be the 7th. After checking all 8 areas, if there's still no sign of him, then he should be underground. We'll go underground again. With the Dragon Mountain Manor's flying ship outside, he won't be able to escape. Si Bai Rong nodded. Rumble. The floor of the entire corner hall suddenly moved. The ground began to move, revealing a large pit below. Within the pit were sharp spear tips. The tip of the spear was also suffused with a dark green color. It was obvious that it was highly toxic. Dongbu Shuang and the others hurriedly dodged to the side. Fortunately, the ground had been destroyed by the frost serpent earlier. Only a portion of the ground had been moved away, and the majority of the ground was stuck. Thus, Shuang and the others were able to evade the attack and reach a safe location. Rumble! The cracked and twisted walls suddenly collapsed, and a large number of stones rolled down to the ground, revealing a large number of mechanical crossbows behind the walls. The huge mechanical crossbow was connected by gears. Countless crossbow bolts covered the back of every wall, and each bolt was as thick as a person's thigh. Looking at the crossbow bolt, Bai Rong, Tang Xiong, and Jing Qiu all felt a chill run down their spines. Such a thick crossbow bolt. Furthermore, it was held in place by the mechanical gears. The pulling force of the bolt must be immense, and the attack power of the bolt would definitely be stronger than that of the star-breaking crossbow. Not good! Jing Qiu's expression changed. 4 sides, 1 side each! The experienced Tang Xiong and Liang Yong shouted almost at the same time. They knew it was a moment of life and death. P-p-p-p-p-p. Every single bolt that was shot out could be clearly heard. From the front, back, left, right. There were crossbow bolts flying towards them from all directions. Furthermore, Dongbu Shuang and the rest were all in the hall. The furthest they were from the crossbow bolts was about 10 meters, and the closest ones were only about 10 meters. It was too close. Hoo, the wind was torn apart. Hundreds of thick crossbow bolts were shot out in an instant, covering the entire hall in a crisscrossing manner. Fortunately, it was just a mechanism, and these crossbow bolts were aimed at every corner of the hall. Only a few dozen of them managed to hit Dongbu Shuang and the rest. Block! Everyone block! Tang Xiong and Liang Yong shouted. Pun! The black-haired old man, Liang Yong, held a shield in one hand and a blade in the other. In an instant, the shield deflected one of the crossbow bolts. While blocking, the shield was slightly tilted, reducing the force of the attack by 80 to 90%. Even so, he could still feel the impact of the crossbow bolts. If he was hit head-on, even with the protection of his armor, he would definitely vomit blood. 2 or 3 crossbow bolts would be enough to kill him. Dang, dang, dang! The white-haired old man, Tang Xiong, who was already over 160 years old, held a short sword in each of his hands. Dang, dang, dang! He blocked the crossbow bolts perfectly. These old fellows were too experienced. Damn it, damn it! Si Bai Rong, who was also a silver moon knight, was panicking. He used both his hands to block the crossbow bolts. Dang, dang, dang! As a silver moon knight, his reflexes and movements were fast. However, his swordsmanship was not high enough, and it was very strenuous for him to block the crossbow bolts. The level of a knight had nothing to do with one's fighting skills. Being able to become a silver moon knight only meant that his doji had reached the silver moon rank. As for his swordsmanship, although he practiced every day and sparred with the experts in his family, he was not even able to reach the one with the sword realm. At most, he had a solid foundation, which was sufficient for normal battles. However, at this critical moment of life and death, with the crossbow bolts flying towards him, he had no time to think about how to block the crossbow bolts. He could only rely on his reflexes. No! Si Bai Rong's forehead was full of cold sweat. Suddenly, he cried out in alarm. He had finally made a mistake. Who? At this critical moment, a shield suddenly stretched out and blocked the crossbow bolt. The crossbow bolt was deflected, and it did not hurt Si Bai Rong at all. The person who had blocked the crossbow bolt was Si Bai Rong's bodyguard, Lian Yong. The black-haired old man, Lian Yong, had focused half of his attention on Si Bai Rong. After all, he was here to protect Si Bai Rong. However, the crossbow bolts were too fast, and he had to use all of his strength to block them. His movements were affected, and his whole body was in a mess. Pung pung pung. He used all of his strength to block 2 crossbow bolts, but the third one was too late. Ah! Lian Yong let out a low cry as he tried his best to dodge the crossbow bolts. One of the crossbow bolts flew past him, and the thick crossbow bolt completely tore apart his right arm. His right arm, which was holding the saber, was sent flying, and fresh blood splattered everywhere. Who? Very quickly, the crossbow bolts stopped flying. All of the crossbow bolts only lasted for a few seconds. AI, facing such a terrifying crossbow bolt at such a close distance, this Lian Yong did not focus on defending himself. He even dared to divert his attention to help that young master Bai Rong. It's lucky that he didn't lose his life. Tang Xiang sighed. Old Liang. Si Bai Rong, who had just escaped death, hurriedly supported the black-haired old man, Lian Yong. Lian Yong's right arm was bleeding profusely, but he quickly took out a silk ribbon and wrapped it around his arm. At the same time, the muscles and blood vessels around his arm started to contract, and the speed of the blood flowing out slowed down. I'm fine, it's just a broken arm, Lian Yong said. He wasn't really that loyal to Si Bai Rong, but he was raised by the Si family, and his family also relied on the Si family. If Si Bai Rong were to lose his life, then he and his family would be finished. Therefore, he had to protect Si Bai Rong. If Si Bai Rong really died, then he would die in battle to prove himself. This Dongbush Shuang is really powerful. I had to use all of my strength to block these crossbow bolts. I didn't expect this young man to be able to block all of them so easily. White-haired Tang Xiong glanced at Dongbush Shuang. Just now, he was so focused that he didn't notice Dongbush Shuang blocking the crossbow bolts. However, looking at Dongbush Shuang's expression, it was obvious that he was very calm. What a pity! Dongbush Shuang stood at the back and shook his head. He had a slight killing intent towards Si Bai Rong, but he didn't have any hatred towards this black-haired old man. If it was convenient, he could also lend a helping hand. Unfortunately, he was at the back of the group, while the other party was at the front. Dongbush Shuang wouldn't be able to save Si Bai Rong in time. If he really rushed over to save Si Bai Rong, then Jing Qiu would be in a desperate situation. Jing Qiu was at the center of the group, and as a magician, she could only passively endure the crossbow bolts. Be careful! Jing Qiu suddenly exclaimed. She had been observing everything calmly. So! 3 silhouettes suddenly appeared from behind a mechanical crossbow. They were only 10 meters away from the group. These 3 silhouettes had the combat power of a silver moon knight, and their speed was frighteningly fast. In a flash, they had covered a distance of 10 meters. Be careful! Liang Yong! Tang Xiong shouted out. Young master! Lian Yong shouted out as he raised his shield to block the crossbow bolts. 2 protectors were rushing towards them. Obviously, they could tell that Si Bai Rong was the weakest among the group of Silver Moon Knights. Furthermore, the black-haired old man had lost an arm. These 2 were the easiest to deal with. Of course, they had to deal with these 2 first. Then, they would deal with the rest. The last protector rushed towards Jing Qiu. A great magician, kill him first. Stop! Tang Xiong held a short sword in each hand and intercepted the protector midway. Dongbua Shuang was at the back of the group. At this moment, he raised his spear and rushed towards the protector. Young master, let's join hands! Protector Lian Yong raised his shield to block the attack. Si Bai Rong turned pale with fright. He hurriedly raised his great sword to block the attack. Dang! 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 The protector wielded a pair of scimitars as he closed in on Si Bai Rong. In terms of technique, this protector was obviously superior. He was able to force Si Bai Rong to retreat. At this moment, how could he care about the life and death of a protector? He didn't even have time to care about Jing Qiu's life. He retreated to the back of the group and let the others block the attack. Actually, if Si Bai Rong was calm, he could still hold on for a while with Lian Yong. Soon, Dongbua Shuang and the rest would arrive to help. However, Si Bai Rong was more concerned about his own life. His only choice was to retreat. The protector immediately turned around and brandished his blade towards Lian Yong. Lian Yong was holding his shield with one arm. He was barely able to withstand the attack of the protector. Now that he was surrounded, he was unable to withstand it. Pooh! A scimitar flashed behind his back and slashed across Lian Yong's throat. Lian Yong's eyes were wide open. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and hope. If he died, he would die in battle. He hoped that his descendants would be treated well by the Si clan. His body went limp and fell to the side. Protector Lian Yong was dead. He was also the first person to die in the group. The battle between Silver Moon level experts was too fast. In a single second, they could slash out more than 100 times. From this, one could see how fast their battle was. Almost 3 protectors had attacked, and Si Bai Rong had retreated the moment they clashed. Lian Yong had only managed to block 2 attacks before he died. Hew! Hew! 2 spear shadows streaked across the sky. Pooh! Pooh! The 2 protectors who had just killed Lian Yong had not even recovered from their shock when they felt 2 spear shadows flying towards them. Their throats were in pain, and they immediately covered their throats with their eyes wide open. Fresh blood flowed out from their throats. You! Both of them could not believe their eyes. Too fast. This spear technique was too fast. In just one move, both of them had died. The faces of the people at the side changed. In fact, Dongbua Shuang had learned Senior Gu Yuan Han's Dark Ice Spear art, which was famous for its speed. When he was still at the meteor rank, he was able to kill a rank 5 shadow leopard. At this moment, even though he was only casually using a small amount of strength, he was still able to display the strength of a Silver Moon warrior. However, with his spear technique, as well as the consummate skills of a transcendent knight, he was still able to kill the 2 protectors easily. After all, other than himself, Dongbua Shuang had never seen anyone else who had reached the level of a grandmaster. It was extremely difficult for one's strength to reach the level of perfect as one. There were very few people who could train as hard as Dongbua Shuang. Even his father, Zhongling, and the rest could not do it. That kind of hard training was just a simple thing to say, but how many people could actually do it? Other than hard work, one also needed to have a brain. Dongbua Shuang had the guidance of a transcendent knight, and he was also very smart. He knew how to summarize his experiences and perfect his spear technique time and time again. With this kind of solid foundation, he had reached the level of one with the spear, and had even stepped into the realm of a grandmaster. Every day, he would take medicinal baths, crazily cultivate, he had a transcendent spear technique to guide him, he had a large number of knights in the castle as his training partner, and he had an intelligent mind, all of these factors created the Dongbo Shuang of today. Chapter 44. What? How is this possible? The remaining enforcer who was fighting with Tang Xiong was shocked. After killing Liang Yong, the three protectors were confident that they would be able to win against the three Silver Moon Knights. Among them, there was also the relatively weak Si Bai Rong. However, when the black-clothed youth took out his spear, the situation changed. Die! The experienced Tang Xiong roared. The protector was not as experienced as the 160-year-old Tang Xiong and was being suppressed. At this moment, he panicked and immediately revealed an opening. Sila, with a flash of the dagger, a red dot appeared between the protector's eyebrows. He fell to the ground with his eyes wide open. Brother Snow Eagle, such a powerful spear technique! Tang Xiong laughed. I haven't seen such a clean and efficient spear technique in a long time. Jing Qiu was also surprised to see the black-clothed youth in front of her. It's a pity that Liang Yong was defeated too quickly. Dongbo Shuang shook his head. Humph! Si Bai Rong stood at the back of the team with a gloomy face. His bodyguard had died in battle, and he had just brushed shoulders with death. However, this Dongbo Shuang, who came from a remote place like Water Rights Town, was so powerful. Then, Si Bai Rong thought of something and went forward to take the armband from Liang Yong's broken arm. Dongbo Shuang, Jing Qiu, and Tang Xiong all looked at him. Liang Yong was my enforcer, so of course, I will take his things back to his family, Si Bai Rong said. As for his body, we will continue to search for it. Let's leave it here for the time being. Someone from the Dragon Mountain Manor will come and clean it up. Sigh. Who knows if Si Bai Rong will return some of the items in the storage treasure? Tang Xiong sighed secretly. He had seen too many people like this. The Si family was a big family with hundreds of years of history. There were many direct descendants, but there were good and bad ones. Although Si Bai Rong's talent was high, his character was obviously not good. However, Tang Xiong did not want to offend him because sometimes, villains were the most difficult to deal with. Ka ka ka. Jing Qiu walked forward, and cold air immediately spread out from her feet. The cold air instantly spread out and froze Liang Qiu's entire body. A layer of ice enveloped Liang Qiu. These three don't even have a single storage treasure. Tang Xiong skillfully searched the corpses of the three enforcers. This is really strange. Logically speaking, most Silver Moon Knights have storage magic treasures. They don't carry many gold notes with them. Lord Bai Rong, do you want these gold notes? Si Bai Rong glanced at the banknotes. He didn't do anything, so he still wanted to save some face. I didn't kill the enemy. You can share it with Dongbo Shuang, Jing Qiu said. Ha, I'll take one and you take two. Tang Xiong handed over 50,000 gold notes to Dongbo Shuang. Dongbo Shuang didn't refuse and accepted them. Let's go, Jing Qiu said. Continue. At this moment, Dongbo Shuang naturally walked to the front of the group. Tang Xiong followed behind Jing Qiu, while Si Bai Rong was at the back. Clearly, he was really afraid. Moreover, there were no enforcers now. The rest of the journey went smoothly. They didn't encounter any powerful traps. After checking all 8 areas, Dongbo Shuang and the rest of the group began to walk underground. There was obviously another underground level in the inner castle. Following the stairs, they soon saw a huge door. Everyone, be careful. I can feel a trace of evil aura, Jing Qiu said cautiously with her staff in hand. Okay. Dongbo Shuang also became cautious. After all, this was the branch altar of an evil god in Azure River County. The door was wide open. The 2 frost great serpents, which had shrunk by a large amount, slithered into the great hall one after another. Shuang and the other 3 also entered the great hall. So big. Dongbo Shuang and the rest were surprised. This palace was constructed to be extremely huge, and the walls of the palace were engraved with the picture of an evil demonic god. It was emitting an evil aura. Even though it was just an engraving, it made Shuang and the others feel uncomfortable. Above the hall, there was a throne. On the throne sat a monster-like muscular man. Next to the throne stood a man with a smile on his face. Dongbu Shuang and the rest recognized this man at a glance. It was their target, Lu Huairu. I didn't expect the three enforcers to be so useless. With the help of the traps, they only managed to kill one of you, Lu Huairu said with a smile. If it was a normal situation, I would have escaped through the secret passage. Under the surveillance of the Dragon Mountain Manor, the chances of me successfully escaping are very low. Unfortunately, there is no need for me to escape now. Jingqiu held her staff while Sibai Rong and Tang Xiong stared at the monster-like man on the throne. All of them felt a strong threat from the aura of this monstrous man. Who is he? Dongbu Shuang also felt a strong sense of threat from the monster-like man. Isn't the leader of this branch Lu Huairu? Now Lu Huairu is standing respectfully at the side while this man who is even stronger than my Uncle Tong is sitting on the throne. Who is he? A silver moon mage. The monstrous man suddenly opened his mouth, his voice echoing in his chest. He stroked his beard that was as hard as an array, his eyes shining as he looked at Jingqiu. And such a young and beautiful female mage at that. She's really of the highest quality. Haha, I like beautiful female mages the most. I like such a young female mage even more. It is said that female mages are extremely intelligent. Trampling on beautiful and intelligent female mages like you really makes me excited. You are. The white-haired old man, Tang Xiong, who had been frowning, suddenly opened his eyes. He thought of a person. A fierce existence that had disappeared for more than 80 years. Run! Tang Xiong turned his head without hesitation and turned into a stream of light to escape. At the same time, he anxiously shouted, Run! Run quickly! What? Sibai Rong and Jingqiu were shocked. How could he escape before they even started fighting? This made them panic a little. Want to escape? The deep and low voice echoed in the hall. Suddenly, the whole space suddenly turned dark. An invisible force instantly covered every corner of the hall. It was as if an invisible hand suddenly pressed down on them. Tang Xiong, who was originally running away at high speed, was immediately suppressed. His body trembled, and his speed decreased sharply. The surrounding air was distorted, and the surrounding scene became somewhat distorted. Unity of heaven and men! Sibai Rong was so scared that his face turned pale. Jingqiu also showed a frightened expression. The monster-like man on the throne casually broke off a piece of metal from the armrest and threw it directly. Xiu! The piece of metal turned into a stream of light and was as fast as lightning. Tang Xiong, who was running away, did not see the piece of metal behind him. The speed of the piece of metal was faster than the speed of sound, and he did not have the slightest awareness. With a puff sound, the piece of metal directly penetrated Tang Xiong's head. Tang Xiong's eyes widened. Because of inertia, he ran for more than 10 steps before he fell down. Fall. Lu Huairu, who was standing beside the throne, gently activated the mechanism beside the throne. Boom! 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 The huge gates outside the main hall fell down 3 times in succession, completely sealing off the escape route. It's a legend rancor. How can there be a legend rancor? Sibai Rong's face was pale. He was completely confused. How can there be a legend rancor in the Azure River County branch of an evil demon god? This? Jingqiu, who had been very calm, could not hide her panic. A legend rancor? The control of heaven and earth made it impossible for her to use any external energy. It was impossible for her to use any powerful spells. If she only used the magic in her body to cast spells, the power would be less than 1,000 times weaker. It would only be able to scratch an itch for a legend rancor. Spells could only be powerful if they used the power of heaven and earth. Beautiful female mage, don't struggle. I didn't expect that this branch would be exposed. Before I left, I would meet a silver moon female mage. Moreover, she is so young. TSK. I am really lucky. Just follow me obediently. I will pamper you well. The monstrous man said. I believe that with your wisdom, you will know what to do. As for these two men, they are useless. Just kill them. The monstrous man said as he grabbed another piece of metal. Spare me. Si Bai Rong's forehead was covered in cold sweat as he knelt down and begged. Senior, please spare my life, please spare my life. Jing Qiu is only 25 years old this year and is the pride of our Azure River County. She will definitely follow Senior obediently. I am Si Bai Rong, a member of the Si family. Please spare my life. He then turned to Jing Qiu and anxiously said, Jing Qiu, you should know what to do. Following a legend rancor is not a disgrace to you. If you resist, you will die. We will all die. Only by living will there be hope. If you die, there will be nothing left. Humph. Jing Qiu looked at Si Bai Rong coldly and then looked at the monstrous man sitting on the throne. Everyone knows that accepting a mission from the Dragon Mountain Manor is dangerous. I have already prepared myself for death. Since my luck is bad and I have encountered a legend rancor, I will not blame anyone. I can only say that I am unlucky. However, if you want me to serve you, you can dream on. Jing Qiu said. Since she had prepared herself for death, she was naturally calm. However, Jing Qiu was not willing to accept this. She had walked step by step to where she was today. She had analyzed and studied the world. She was very confident that she would become a legend rancor in the future. But now, it was all over. You have really disappointed me. However, the corpse of a female mage is also a good collection. The monstrous man said. Si Bai Rong knelt there. Jing Qiu stared at the monstrous man with her staff in her hand. I really did not expect this. Originally, it was just a black iron mission to accumulate some experience. Who would have thought that I would encounter a legend rancor? Dongbu Shui Ying's voice suddenly sounded. Chapter 45. Jing Qiu was in despair when she suddenly heard Dongbu Shui Ying's words. She was startled and turned her head to look at him. Previously, Dongbu Shui Ying had been concealing his aura. After many years of comprehending the laws of heaven and earth, his aura had become simple and inconspicuous. However, at this moment, everyone could feel that this black-robed young man in front of them was completely different. His gaze was as sharp as a blade, and the invisible aura he exuded was sharp and terrifying. This was the sharpness of an expert. Normally, it was hidden in the sheath, but once it exploded, it would cause people's hearts to palpitate. This Dongbu Shui Ying actually dares to say such words. Could it be that he can defeat a legend rancor? Jing Qiu did not dare to believe it. I heard that he is only 22 years old, 3 years younger than me. How can he defeat a legend rancor at such a young age? Furthermore, I don't feel that he has the power to control heaven and earth. The surrounding air was distorted. An unseen pressure was still enveloping the area. This was the monster-like muscular man's control over the world. From Jing Qiu's point of view, if Shui Ying was also a legend rancor, he should also be able to control the world. The world energy of both sides should be clashing. This Dongbu Shui Ying has gone mad! Bai Rong, who was in complete fear of death, turned his head to look at Dongbu Shui Ying. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He actually dared to provoke a legend rancor? Is he really a legend rancor? He must be pretending to be arrogant before he dies, but this will only make his death even more miserable. The monster-like man on the throne touched the armrest and looked at the black-robed young man in front of him. Grinning, he said, Interesting, interesting. Little brat, since you are so eager to die, cut the crap. Dongbu Shui Ying's eyes were filled with passion. Come, let me see how strong you are. If you are weaker than me, then you can only die. You are even more arrogant than me. The monster-like man's eyes turned cold. Boom! The invisible force of heaven and earth instantly suppressed Dongbu Shui Ying's body, just like how it had suppressed Tang Xiong. That's it! Dongbu Shui Ying sneered. There was a limit to the suppression of the world energy. It would make a meteor knight feel very uncomfortable, while a silver moon knight's strength would be greatly reduced. As for Dongbu Shui Ying, whose physical strength had reached the pinnacle of the legend rank, the threat of the world energy was much weaker. At most, he would be suppressed by 1,000 Jin of strength. One stood in the main hall while the other sat on the throne. Their gazes collided. "Let me see what you're capable of." The monster-like man flipped his hand, and a black curved dart appeared in his hand. This was the hidden weapon he often used in battle. As for why he had shot a Silver Moon Knight's head with a piece of metal earlier, it was because the difference in strength was too great. Phew! The monster-like brawny man immediately swung his arm, abruptly waving the arc-shaped dart in his hand. Shio shio shio! A series of arc-shaped darts appeared in his hands, and he threw them out. The arc-shaped dart was extremely fast, reaching supersonic speed in the blink of an eye. Moreover, the trajectory of the dart was an arc in the air, making it even more blurry and difficult to see through the distorted air. "Darts? Take a few moves from me." Dongbu Shui Ying's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. This was his first time fighting against a legend ranker. With a flip of his right hand, a short spear appeared in his hand, and he instantly threw it out. Boom! The short spear became heavier, and it tore through the air with a terrifying whistling sound. When the monster-like brawny man heard this sound, his expression changed. The speed of the short spear was too fast, and he did not even have the time to take out a weapon to block it. He immediately dodged the attack and dodged it. Pun! The short spear smashed into the throne, causing the entire throne to explode. The tip of the short spear pierced deep into the wall behind the throne. Dongbu Shuang was similarly dodging those strange black curved darts. He wielded the Feishui godly spear with one hand, occasionally blocking the darts. As a spear master, blocking these darts was too easy for him. Boom! 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 In Dongbu Shui Ying's right hand, a short spear appeared one after another. After all, he had a whole pile of short spears in his storage space. The short spear was thrown out again and again with all his strength, tearing through the air. The power of heaven and earth had little effect on the short spear thrown out by a peak legend ranker. A short spear brushed past the side of the brawny man, and with a loud boom, it pierced through the wall. A series of black curved darts flew towards Dongbu Shuang at an extremely fast speed, but they were all dodged by Dongbu Shuang, and the darts were deeply embedded in the wall. This. Byron was stunned. Is this the power of a legend ranker? Jing Qiu also felt the pressure. At this moment, the two of them were merely using concealed weapons against each other, and they could already feel the pressure and fear. That brawny man's movements were so blurry that they could not even see him clearly. Although Dongbu Shui Ying's movements were very small, within a few meters of him, his body would still become blurry and unstable. Just by dodging his movements, they could not even see him clearly. As for the concealed weapons? Regardless of whether it was the frightening short spear or the strange and swift darts, they would not be able to dodge a single one of them. Demon God above, he is actually so strong? Lu Huairu was so scared that his face turned pale. He had already stealthily hid behind a statue in the hall. He was afraid that he would be accidentally injured. When two legend rankers were fighting, even a casual wind pressure would be enough to crush a meteor rank mage like him to death. The brawny man continuously dodged the attacks, and with a flash, a pair of double-edged battle axes appeared in his hands. The double-edged battle axes were extremely ferocious weapons. The axes were so big that they looked like small shields. The man held onto one of the axes in each of his hands, and with a simple block, a loud, dang sound rang out as he blocked one of the short spears. The sound of the short spear colliding resounded throughout the hall. I didn't expect that I would meet such a young junior just after I escaped from death and returned to the mortal world. The brawny man's expression was sinister. Very good, so young and already have the strength of a legend ranker. You really have potential. I love to kill yous with potential like you the most. Junior, let me show you my strength. Watch out for my spear. Dongbu Shuang did not waste any words. He knew that the short spear would not be able to threaten his opponent. He immediately rushed forward. So! His body was like an arrow released from a bow. In an instant, he had already flown close to 100 meters away. He raised the long spear in his hands high up and fiercely slashed downwards. Boom! The power was imbued into the long spear and was transmitted to the spearhead. This strike had sufficient time to accumulate power, and the might of this strike was extremely ferocious. "Let's see how much strength you have." The brawny man laughed sinisterly as he crossed the axes in his hands above his head. Boom! The long spear clashed against the two axes. The expression of the brawny man immediately changed. One of the axes was accumulating power, while the other was standing at his original position to block the attack. He immediately suffered a loss. He did not care about his face and immediately retreated backwards. Dong, dong, dong! With every step he retreated, a deep footprint would appear on the floor of the hall. The ground around him would also crack open. Only after retreating for more than 10 steps did he completely dissipate the force of the attack. Die! After the furious slash, Dongbua Shuang immediately rushed forward. His long spear changed from a furious slash to a straight thrust. The long spear was like a bolt of lightning as it pierced towards the face of the brawny man. Disperse! With a thought, the brawny man dispersed the power of heaven and earth that had been suppressing Dongbua Shuang. The pressure on his body suddenly disappeared. Ordinary people would find it hard to adapt to such a change. However, Dongbua Shuang only felt the power of his muscles and bones changing accordingly. He was not affected at all. A great spear master, power as one, was not someone who would be so easily affected. Damn it, power as one? Such a terrifying spear technique at such a young age. The brawny man realized that his opponent's spear was not affected at all. He immediately understood that his opponent was definitely a great spear master. One must know that even among legend rankers, only a small portion of them could reach the level of a great spear master. That was because some people would reach the level of one with the world when it came to smithing. Some people would reach the level of one with the world when it came to painting. One with the world only represented the realm of one's soul. It did not represent one's combat techniques. To become a great spear master, one needed to spend a long period of time and effort in training and comprehension. Blood axe reincarnation. The brawny man treated his opponent as a formidable foe. In an instant, his body turned blurry as he evaded the attack. Shio! The long spear pierced past his body, piercing through thin air. However, the spear tip's penetrative force was able to penetrate through the void and hit the wall of the hall far away, creating a deep hole in the wall. Die! After evading the attack, the brawny man immediately waved his two axes from the side, hacking furiously at Dongbua Shuang. The moment this move, blood axe reincarnation, was used, the two axes would attack continuously. Under such a ferocious attack, as long as the enemy failed to defend even slightly, they would be finished. Open for me! Dongbua Shuang's spear pierced through thin air. Instead, he turned his body and rotated his waist. His long spear suddenly swept horizontally. The power of a single spear was enough to annihilate an army of 1,000. Who cares what axe technique it is? I will just sweep it over. Pun! The long spear's shaft directly collided with the axe's edge. Accompanied by a terrifying explosion, an invisible pressure spread out in all directions. Si Byron was so frightened that he hurriedly activated his protective Do-Chi. Jingqiu also maintained her ice armor. Boom! Under the pressure, Si Byron was forced to take a step back. Jingqiu's ice armor revolved slowly, completely dissipating the force of the impact. The surrounding hall seemed to have been blown away by a strong gust of wind. The stones on the surface of the hall cracked and crumbled. It was a complete mess. The brawny man was forced to take a few steps back, and his body slammed into the wall behind him. Dongbua Shuang's body also swayed from the impact, and he was forced to take a step to the side. Both of them stared at each other, killing intent filling the air. Ha! The brawny man suddenly laughed. His laughter was deep and resounding, like a tsunami. Jingqiu, Si Byron and Lu Huairu, who were watching from afar, could not help but cover their ears. Chapter 46. Dongbu Shui Ying's expression changed. He had the upper hand, but this monster-like man was still so confident. This was not normal. Young spear master! Your strength is actually slightly stronger than mine. It will not be easy to kill you. The monster-like man laughed. Jingqiu, Lu Huairu and Si Bai Rong, who were hiding in the corner of the hall, were secretly shocked as they looked at the two powerful existences in front of them. They were all shocked. From the battle just now, they could see that Dongbu Shuiying actually had the upper hand. In fact, this was very normal. Dongbu Shuiying's strength was slightly stronger than his opponent's, and his opponent had the heaven and earth suppression. However, Dongbu Shuiying had the transcendent dark ice spear technique and the godly weapon Feishu, a divine spear. Coupled with the strength of a spear master, he could completely suppress his opponent. His opponent also had many areas that were extremely strong, but ultimately, his strength was not as strong as one. This flaw put him at a disadvantage. If you have any techniques, show me. Dongbu Shuiying shouted coldly. He felt that his opponent was very strange. Ha! I barely escaped back to the mortal world. After resting for a few days, I have only recovered half of my injuries. However, for you, it is worth it for me to use the forbidden technique that the great demon god taught me. The moment the monster-like man finished speaking, his body started to shrink rapidly. From his previous height of 2.45 meters, he had shrunk to about 1.8 meters. His waist, which was as thick as a water tank, and his arms, which were thicker than an ordinary person's thighs, were also shrinking rapidly. All his blood, flesh, tendons, and bones turned into terrifying energy in an instant, forming a strange black airflow. The black airflow surrounded the surface of his body. After shrinking, this god's emissary's body became a strong man who was 1.8 meters tall. How is this possible? Si Bai Rong's eyes widened. The great demon god's forbidden technique. Lu Huairu's eyes shone brightly. Amazing, as expected of a demon god. His research on the physical body has already surpassed most of the mages. Jingqiu, on the other hand, gasped in surprise. Mages would usually research the physical body and the soul, and even create some monsters. For example, the Si clan's ancestor, Si Lianghong, had transformed her own physical body into a blood demon's body, which allowed her to obtain a long lifespan. Ka ka ka! The god emissary slightly moved his neck, emitting a terrifying sound. Black gas twined around him like a demon. This is true power. The god messenger stared at Dongbu Shuiying. If it wasn't for power, I wouldn't have followed the demonic god. Young spear master, feel my current strength. Interesting. Dongbu Shuiying, on the other hand, was staring intently at the black air around his opponent's body. So much blood, flesh, and bones were instantly turned into energy to augment his body. As expected of a forbidden technique taught by the gods. If I'm not wrong, this is your true appearance. That's right. To learn this forbidden technique, you need to eat. Eat a lot and turn it into flesh, blood, and bones to hide in your body. Lord Oracle said casually. How many normal humans can be that strong? Dongbu Shuiying nodded his head. He also felt that this was not normal. Even if there were some rare individuals that could grow to a height of 2.4 m, most of them would be thin and tall. As for the tall and strong, Dongbu Shuiying had never seen such a monster in the Azure River County when he was riding on his snowstrider horse. Is it over? Jingqiu was worried. They're simply crazy. Two crazy people. Bai Rong said fearfully. Lord Oracle will definitely win. Lu Huairu said confidently. At this moment, the black gas was twining around his body, making him look like a demon. The aura he emitted was enough to make them tremble in fear. Very good, very good. Dongbu Shuiying suddenly said. I was still thinking that your strength was too weak. You were completely suppressed by me. There was no challenge at all. Now it's interesting. This is the first time I, Dongbu Shuiying, fight against a legend ranker. It should be more exciting. Otherwise, if I kill you so easily, it won't be fun. In a while, you won't be able to be so arrogant anymore." The oracle snorted. "Die." In an instant he dashed out with a speed much faster than before. At the same time, the heaven and earth energy was suppressing Dongbu Shuang. Since the heaven and earth energy was unable to affect a spear master, then he would continue suppressing him. This way, he could at least weaken his opponent's strength. "Is that so?" Dongbu Shuang dashed forward and hacked down with both his hands. "Who?" The demonic emissary's body suddenly stopped, and he took a strange step back. With a peng sound, Shui Ying's spear struck the ground, causing the floor of the great hall to split open, and countless pieces of rubble flew in all directions. The flying rubble was blocked when it came into contact with the black airflow on the oracle's body. The oracle sneered. His current strength had completely increased. His strength and speed had all increased. That was why he didn't even need to use his axe to dodge this attack. Who? However, the spear that had suddenly struck the ground borrowed the rebound force and instantly bounced upwards, thrusting forward at an even faster and fiercer speed. So fast. The oracle was shocked. This spear master's attacks were too fast. Even the rebound force between each attack was perfectly borrowed, allowing him to display even more terrifying strength. Dang! The oracle blocked with his axe. The tip of the spear and the axe collided. Dongbu Shui Ying's body trembled. The spear in his hand immediately turned and transformed into countless spear shadows that enveloped the oracle. Black ice spear arts, floating snow. Countless snowflakes fluttered, and within the snowflakes, there were even some ice-cold spear tips. Such a fast spear technique! The oracle blocked with his axe. Faster, faster, faster. No matter how fast I go, it's still too slow. Dongbu Shui Ying's eyes were burning with a terrifying fighting intent. His spear shadows covered the sky and enveloped his opponent. The countless spear shadows were too fast. In a split second, they stabbed towards his opponent's head, throat, right leg, wrist. Different parts of his body were being attacked crazily, causing the oracle to be unable to do anything but defend. Too fast. This Dongbu Shuang is too fast. His spear shadows are so fast that I can't even see them clearly. Is this his true strength? He can practically kill me in one move. Bai Rong was stunned. Jingqiu was also holding her breath. As a Silver Moon mage, she had always been proud of being a mage. But today, she had finally witnessed a battle between two peak legend rankers. In front of such strength, what could a Silver Moon mage do? Even a legend ranker would have to prepare some spells. If they were suddenly ambushed, they would probably die. So fast. Everyone present felt that Dongbu Shui Ying's spear techniques were extremely fast. How could spear techniques be so fast? The spear techniques that Dongbu Shui Ying had learned were known for their speed. When the strength of a peak legend ranker, the godly weapon Feishui godly spear, the spear master, and the black ice spear arts were all combined, how fast would it be? This was the current scene. Ah! Damn it! Get lost! The oracle, who had been constantly being attacked, was finally enraged. He displayed his movement technique and crazily waved his axe, releasing all of his strength. Pun! The tip of the spear and the axe collided. Dongbu Shui Ying's Feishui godly spear had been shaken to the point of being bent. However, the spear itself had the ability to store energy. Dongbu Shui Ying immediately turned his body sideways and borrowed the energy from the bent spear to attack the oracle ferociously. Die for me! Die! Die! Die for me! The oracle continued to attack crazily. His pair of huge axes were incomparably ferocious. At this moment, his body was much smaller than before. His two axes were like two huge shields. It was not easy for Dongbu Shui Ying to attack his opponent. Pun, pun, pun. Every time they exchanged blows, Dongbu Shui Ying would be forced to change his technique. Sometimes he would be forced to retreat, and sometimes he would turn his body sideways to attack. Although he was being suppressed, Dongbu Shui Ying was still able to counterattack time and time again. Blood axe, World extermination! The oracle roared. The black aura around his body was wrapped around his blood axe. Not good! Dongbua Shui Ying's expression changed. Before his spear could even touch the axe, the moment it came into contact with the black aura, it felt extremely slippery and tough. The area of effect of the blood axe had increased, and its power had increased significantly. Hoo! The blood axe swept horizontally, and the area of effect of the black aura increased. Pun! Shuang was jolted to the point that he staggered backwards. Die for me! The oracle dashed out. His speed was much faster than Dongbua Shuang. The axe in his hand cleaved downwards. The might of this strike was much stronger than before. Dongbua Shuang did not dare to block it head-on. He immediately dodged to the side. Boom! The ground was cleaved down by the axe, and a 20 to 30 meter crack appeared. Slash, slash, slash! The oracle was obviously intending to eliminate his opponent in one go. After all, the power of this forbidden technique was limited. Currently, he was even more extravagant on his weapon. Although his strength had increased greatly, he was also expending more energy. Hence, he had to eliminate Dongbua Shuang as soon as possible. Clang, clang, clang! Dongbua Shui Ying's movement speed could not match up to his opponent's. He could only use his spear to block the incoming force. Alas, his opponent was too strong. Pun! With a burst of speed, Dongbua Shuang slammed into the wall behind him, causing cracks to appear on the wall. Dongbua Shuang dodged to the side. He won't die, right? Jingqiu's heart tightened. Even Bai Rong was getting anxious. Sir Oracle will definitely win. Lu Huairu watched from afar. Because the 3 gates of the main hall had been closed, there was no way for him to escape. Hence, he hoped that the oracle would win. The oracle unleashed one attack after another, and Dongbua Shuang was getting more and more battered. Hoo! Dongbua Shuang rolled on the ground in an unsightly manner before he managed to dodge the attack. The gap is too big. I'm completely being oppressed. Looks like I'll have to use my bloodline of power. Shuang flew away with a so sound. While he was in midair, a faint blood-red aura had already appeared around his body. At this moment, the bloodline power of a powerful primordial era life form was activated, and the killing intent in his eyes became bitingly cold. Chapter 47. Ha! Die for me! The oracle, who had the absolute advantage, did not give Dongbua Shuang any chance to catch his breath. He rushed forward and swung his axes horizontally. Dongbua Shuang, who was in midair, suddenly twisted his body and thrust his spear forward like a venomous snake. Xiao! A one-handed stab. The spear was extremely fast, and it reached the oracle's face almost instantaneously. So ruthless, so fast. The oracle, who was chasing after Dongbua Shuang, was shocked by the incoming spear. Why is his spear art so fast? It wasn't this fast before. He did not care about anything else, and instinctively closed the axes in his hands. It was as if 2 huge doors had been closed, completely sealing off the spear's attack. Pun! The tip of the spear collided with the axes. Although this one-handed stab was fast and sudden, it was not as powerful as a whip, sweep, and hack. But it still caused the oracle to feel his axes tremble. You should be the one to die. The moment Dongbua Shuang landed on the ground, he immediately rushed towards the oracle again. Snowflakes fluttered in the air, and his spear turned into a mirage as he attacked. Clang, clang, clang. In an instant, hundreds of spear shadows enveloped the oracle, but it was even faster than before. The demonic emissary was stunned. He was instinctively defending himself in a panic. He didn't even dare to attack because Shui Ying's spear technique was so fast that the demonic emissary felt that if he were to attack, he wouldn't be able to defend against it. How could the speed of his spear technique increase so much? Could it be that he was hiding his strength earlier? Damn it, how could such a young junior be so strong? Pun! After stabbing a few hundred times, the spear spun and swung towards the oracle's head. The oracle hurriedly used his axes to block the attack. In an instant, a pun sound could be heard. The oracle could feel a surge of energy being transmitted through the axes, and he could not help but stagger backwards. Pun pun pun. Dongbush Shuang was either whipping, stabbing, or sweeping. The long spear was like a swimming dragon that was connected to him, crazily and extremely fast attacking again and again. The oracle kept retreating, and even his movements were slightly distorted. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. Who? The sound of the air being torn rang in his ears, and the tip of a spear instantly pierced through the gap between the two blood axes. Puchi! The divine envoy's eyes widened, and the blood axe in his hand fell to the ground with a clang. The sound resounded throughout the hall. Phew! Dongbush Shuang suddenly pulled out his spear. There was a huge hole in the oracle's throat, and blood was gushing out of it. The oracle was clutching his throat with his hand, and his eyes were wide open. He looked at the black-robed young man who was emitting a terrifying aura in front of him. He used to be a guard of a big family, and he climbed up step by step. He was known for his ferocity, and was even given the title of Blood Axe Knight. For power, he would do anything. In order to obtain a high-grade dochi method, he had slaughtered a team led by a young master of a large family, and tortured and interrogated them to obtain a detailed dochi method. In order to obtain the divine weapon Blood Axe, he had slaughtered an innocent family. After being sent to the infernal realm to serve his sentence, he was found by the devil god's people. The other party promised to help him escape, and even gave him a forbidden technique. Finally, he gritted his teeth and chose to betray the Xia people. He pledged allegiance to the devil god, and became a devil god's messenger. After narrowly escaping to the mortal world, he had only recovered half of his injuries, but he actually died in the hands of an unknown young spear master. You! The oracle stared at Dongbush Shuang. Suddenly, he realized that the faint blood-red aura was surrounding the black-robed young man. Tai Gu! He widened his eyes, but his vision was already turning black. Even when he spoke, blood was gushing out of his mouth. The oracle's eyes widened as he stared at Dongbush Shuang. I submit. Remember, my name is Blood. Following which, his body twitched, and his knees went weak as he knelt on the ground. Then, he fell to the ground with a thud, and fresh blood slowly flowed on the ground. An ambitious and ruthless person, to the mortals, he was like a devil. The Blood Axe Knight, Cho Fan, died just like that. The other people present did not even know his name. Even the protector of the subaltar, Lu Huai-Ru, did not know the true origin of this oracle. The main reason was that after this Blood Axe Knight escaped from the infernal realm, the Xia people had been chasing after him. Therefore, he did not dare to reveal his identity. The only person who recognized Cho Fan was the 160-years-old Tang Xiong. Unfortunately, Tang Xiong was already dead. As for Dongbush Shuang, Jing Qiu and Si Bai Rong, they did not recognize him. After all, he was an extremely powerful person from a long time ago. You are called Blood? Dongbush Shuang did not hear clearly. He shook his head slightly as he looked at the corpse of the oracle. No matter who you are the first legend ranker I have ever fought against. I will remember you. As he spoke, Dongbush Shuang quickly took the 2 rings from the oracle. These 2 rings were storage treasures, and were easily refined by his dochi. What a huge space! Dongbush Shuang was surprised. The 2 rings were very spacious. One was 3 meters long, and the other was about the same size. This was considered huge among storage treasures. The reason why Dongbush Shuang had disassembled the Feishu godly spear was because he did not have a storage treasure that was big enough. After all, disassembling the godly spear required a lot of time. Now, there is no need to disassemble it. I can use it at any time. Also, I can carry a few more spears with me. Dongbush Shuang revealed a smile. This was something that made him happy. Immediately, he checked the items inside the 2 rings. Gold notes, darts, shields, axes, bottles, food, wine. There were quite a lot of items. After all, the The 3 meters long, wide and tall ring was like a mobile warehouse. The entire hall was silent. Jingqiu and Si Bairong, who were hiding behind a pillar in the corner, held their breaths as they watched the scene unfold in front of them. Amidst the falling snow, the terrifying demonic emissary was pierced through the throat by a long spear. Dongbua Shuang stood at the side and pulled out his spear. Dongbua Shuang actually won. Si Bairong held his breath. Actually, when the oracle used his forbidden technique and Dongbua Shuang activated his bloodline power, he could no longer understand the battle between the two. It was too fast. Before reaching legend rank, in front of a legend rank, one was just an ant. A legend ranker. Only a legend ranker would be able to walk their own path. Some of them were even comparable to transcendence. So strong. This Dongbua Shuang is too strong. He is only 22 years old? Jingqiu was also shocked. She had seen many young geniuses in the Eternal Wind Academy. She herself was also praised as a proud daughter of heaven. However, she discovered that this Dongbua Shuang was the most outstanding genius she had ever seen. A 22-year-old legend ranker. Moreover, he had just killed another powerful titled warrior in a head-on confrontation. Jingqiu also felt admiration for him. In fact, she was also grateful because Dongbua Shuang had saved her life. Sir Oracle, the great oracle was defeated? Dead? Lu Huairu, who was hiding far away, was stunned. He looked at the corpse of the oracle lying on the ground and felt his heart turn cold. The 3 gates of the Great Hall had already been closed. In order to prevent the intruders from escaping, the Great Hall had been completely sealed off. It would take too long to open the gates again. These experts from the Dragon Mountain Manor, especially that Dongbua Shuang, could probably kill him in an instant. It's over. Lu Huairu had never thought of begging for mercy. As the altar lord of a demon god in Azure River County, with his identity, no one would dare to let him go. Damn it, damn the Dragon Mountain Manor! Lu Huairu glanced at the 3 people outside with hatred. In his hand, a strange disc appeared. He let out a crazed and piercing laughter. His laughter resounded in the great hall. Ha! Let's perish together! Great demon god, here I come! At the same time, he suddenly spun the disc in his hand. Chapter 48. To be able to become an altar master, one had to be a fanatic. Furthermore, the reason why the demonic gods were able to infiltrate the entire Xia clan for so many years without being completely eradicated was because they had many powerful methods, such as oaths made by the demonic gods, time-space contracts, and so on, all sorts of methods to completely control the core elites of the believers. When they were alive, they would obey the demonic god completely. Even in death, their souls would be sent to the demonic god and follow him forever. Not good. Dongbua Shuiying's face changed as he looked at Lu Huairu. Lu Huairu's face was filled with madness. Boom! The floor of the huge hall suddenly surged, and then completely exploded. The pillars in the hall also collapsed one by one, and some even exploded from the impact. Jingqiu and Si Bairong, who were hiding in the corner of the hall, were shocked. Congeal! 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 Jingqiu didn't have the time to cast any powerful spells, so she could only cast some weak ones. The ice armor on her body was already the strongest defense she could cast, and it could even withstand a Silver Moon Knight's attack for a while. At this moment, as Jingqiu cast her spell, a sheet of ice appeared in front of her. The surface of the ice was slanted, and Jingqiu hid behind the slanted surface of the ice. Obviously, she wanted to use the ice to disperse the terrifying force of the attack. But at this moment, the entire hall exploded, causing Jingqiu to tremble in fear. Would she be able to withstand it? No, I can't die, I can't die! Bairong's eyes were also filled with fear. In an instant, he also squatted down and hid behind the slanted ice surface. When he saw Jingqiu, who was completely covered by the ice armor, his eyes flashed with a cold light. In an instant, he grabbed Jingqiu's arm and pulled her in front of him. A Silver Moon Mage's defense was also able to disperse a lot of force. See by Rome! Jingqiu's eyes were filled with anger. Jingqiu, sacrifice yourself for me. I will take good care of your family. See by Rong hid behind Jingqiu, using her as a shield. The ice armor had the ability to disperse force automatically. Otherwise, if a knight's attack passed through the ice armor, it would be enough to kill a mage. Because of the ice armor's ability to disperse force, Si Bai Rong used Jingqiu as the best shield. With Jingqiu in front of him, his chances of survival were greatly increased. As for Jingqiu's life and death, he couldn't be bothered. Although he had always been pursuing Jingqiu, it was only because of Jingqiu's strength and appearance. But in the face of death, he naturally valued his own life more. He hadn't lived enough yet. Damn it, by Rome! Jingqiu was both shocked and angry. She had been squatting at the bottom of the icy surface with her arms in front of her, but now that she was being grabbed, it was hard for her to protect herself with her arms. The chances of her dying had greatly increased. She was furious. However, how could a mage break free? The strength of a Silver Moon Knight was too great. If he did not die in the hands of that terrifying oracle, it would be too unjust to die because of Si Bai Rong. Not good. Dongbu Shuang instantly felt the earth trembling and exploding. With a thought, a black square shield appeared in his left hand. This was one of the 2 storage rings of the God Messenger. A spear in his right hand and a shield in his left. So, Dongbu Shuiying's speed was as fast as lightning as he dashed away. At this moment, he had already activated his bloodline power. A faint blood-red aura surrounded his body, and his speed had reached a frightening level. Who? As he dashed away, the ground of the main hall had already exploded, and a large number of rocks were sent flying. The rocks were big and small, but they were all extremely fast and powerful. Dang! The shield in his left hand continuously blocked some of the rocks, while the spear in Fei Xue's left hand continuously whipped out at some of the rocks, walls, and even huge pillars. In the midst of the explosion, in a split second, Dongbu Shuang had already reached Jingqiu and Si Bai Rong, who were hiding behind the icy surface 100 meters away. Although he had a shield in one hand and a spear in the other, his body was still hit by some of the rocks. After all, the explosive power of the explosion was everywhere. In order to rush over as fast as possible, he could only use his body to withstand some of the rocks. However, as a peak legend ranker, with his bloodline power and his Dou-Chi protecting his body, even if his body were to withstand the impact of the explosion, he would at most be heavily injured. Only a few of the rocks managed to break through his Dou-Chi, and even his sturdy clothes were pierced through. However, in the end, Dongbu Shuiying's body was still stronger. His body easily withstood the impact of the rocks. This Si Bai Rong! Dongbu Shuiying rushed over and saw Si Bai Rong using Jingqiu as a shield. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. Shameless! Scram! Dongbu Shuiying grabbed Jingqiu with one hand and kicked Si Bai Rong's body at the same time. Si Bai Rong's eyes were still filled with shock. Pun! How powerful was Dongbu Shuiying's kick? Si Bai Rong's body curled up as he was sent flying backwards. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Although he had grabbed Jingqiu's arm, the ice armor had automatically absorbed the force of his grip. Thus, Jingqiu was not injured at all. Jingqiu's eyes widened as she looked at Dongbu Shuiying. Without any hesitation, Dongbu Shuiying kept his Fei Xue godly spear. At the same time, he held Jingqiu in front of him with one hand. At the same time, he used the largest shield he had chosen to block the impact of the explosion. Jingqiu was originally being held by Si Bai Rong as a shield. Now that the explosion had reached them, she had already lost all hope. All of a sudden, a black-robed youth's silhouette dashed through the area of the explosion at a terrifying speed. His speed was so fast that it created a series of afterimages. In Jingqiu's eyes, she could see a large number of afterimages of Dongbu Shuiying. Dongbu Shuiying held the shield in one hand and the Fei Xue godly spear in the other. His eyes were as calm as ever, and he did not show any signs of panic. The exploding boulders, stone pillars, and countless flying rocks could not stop him at all. At this moment, Jing Qiu could feel that Dongwu Shui Ying's body was glowing with light. It was as if he was a great hero. At this moment, her heart was filled with excitement. Pen. After sending Si Bai Rong flying with a kick, Dongwu Shui Ying grabbed her with one hand and used his entire chest to protect her. At this moment, she was pressed against Dongwu Shui Ying's chest. Although there was still a layer of ice armor between them, Jing Qiu felt a sense of security. It was as if she was still a child, when she was in her father's embrace. Dongwu Shui Ying did not care about anything else at this moment. He placed his shield behind him to protect his back. Rumble! Countless rocks shot out in all directions. Because the entire hall was sealed, the shockwave from the explosion continued to reverberate within the hall. The mountain rocks above also collapsed, and the surrounding walls of the hall collapsed. Countless rocks of various sizes crazily smashed down. No! A mournful scream could be heard. Under the impact of the explosion, Si Bai Rong used his shield to defend himself. However, he was still sent flying by the impact of the explosion. Following which, he was hit by a large number of rocks. His protective doji was shattered, and his body became even weaker. In an instant, a large number of wounds appeared on his body. His head had been hit more than 10 times in an instant. In an instant, his vision turned black, and he died. Under such an explosion, it was too difficult to stay alive. Perhaps only legend rankers would be able to do so. Humph! Dongwu Shui Ying squatted down and pressed his body against Jing Qiu. He was trying his best to protect Jing Qiu. His left hand was inserted into the ground, and his shield was slanted to reduce the impact of the explosion. Rumble! Countless rocks came crashing down, and in an instant the slanted ice surface collapsed. A large number of rocks hit the shield, and some even smashed onto Dongwu Shui Ying's feet. Humph! With his left hand grabbing onto the ground, he tried his best to stabilize himself. With his right hand holding onto the shield, he was able to withstand the impact of the explosion. Jing Qiu, on the other hand, was not affected at all. She lowered her head, and could only see Dongwu Shui Ying's powerful palm grabbing onto the ground tightly. Looking at his powerful palm, Jing Qiu felt relieved. Be careful! All of a sudden, an anxious voice rang out. Rumble! The entire hall collapsed, and the huge rocks above started to fall. Dongwu Shui Ying immediately used his body to protect Jing Qiu. At the same time, he placed his shield above Jing Qiu. Rumble! Countless rocks started to fall, and the entire hall collapsed. In an instant, Dongwu Shui Ying and Jing Qiu were completely covered by a few meters of rocks. Gradually, the outside became quiet. The shield was above them. Dongwu Shui Ying and Jing Qiu were both below them. The sound of the explosion gradually dissipated, and the surroundings became pitch black. Humph! Dongwu Shui Ying frowned. His right leg had been crushed. However, with his powerful physique, it was only a flesh wound. Are you all right? Jing Qiu heard Dongwu Shui Ying's voice and asked worriedly. I'm fine. Dongwu Shui Ying's voice was still very calm. His right hand was still holding onto the shield to block the rocks above him. These rocks weighed at least 30 to 40,000 jin. Wait for a while. I will break these rocks apart, and we will be able to get out. Chapter 49. In the pitch-black environment, Jing Qiu had a very unique feeling. First, under the pressure of the god's envoy, she had given up and was prepared to face death. But now, the ordinary-looking Dongwu Shui Ying had stepped out and revealed his strength, killing the god's envoy in a head-on confrontation. At this time, Lu Huairu had chosen to perish together with Bai Rong. She had been used as a shield by Bai Rong, and once again, she had fallen into a situation of certain death. She had been saved once again. In the darkness, under the cover of countless rocks, Jing Qiu's heart was filled with a myriad of emotions. Pun! A loud sound rang out, as Dongwu Shui Ying exerted strength with a single arm, causing the countless rocks on top of the shield to fly up into the air. Let's go. Dongbu Shuang immediately hugged Jingqiu's waist with one hand and leapt into the air. At the same time, he swung his shield at lightning speed, slapping out tens of times in an instant, knocking away all the rocks that had fallen onto the ground. Hugging the waist of a beautiful female mage with one hand, it looked very beautiful, but in truth, because Jingqiu's body was protected by the ice armor, the feeling of hugging her was very ordinary. It was very hard and cold, and not comfortable at all. Dong! Landing on a pile of rocks, Dongbu Shuang put Jingqiu down. Be careful. The entire hall might have some boulders falling at any time. It might even collapse a second time. Don't remove your ice armor, no matter what. As Shuang spoke, he swept his gaze across his surroundings. Many places around him had completely collapsed. Even some of the pillars and walls of the first and second level of the inner castle had fallen, supporting some of the stone slabs above. Some of the pillars and walls were tilted, while others had already collapsed. Occasionally, there would be rocks falling down. These falling rocks were not a threat to the stronger knights, but to the weaker mages, it was a fatal threat. Hence, the protective spell had to be maintained at all times. N. Jingqiu nodded her head. You south. Dongbu Shuang, on the other hand, had already flown away. When he was a distance away, he swiftly flicked his spear, sending rocks flying everywhere. Clearly, he was going to search for the corpses. But this kind of explosion, even the oracle's body was completely shattered. After all, the power of this explosion was enough to kill a Silver Moon Knight. In the absence of battle chi, whether it was Tang Xiong, the oracle, or Lu Huai-Ru, their bodies were completely shattered. Similarly, Bai Rong's corpse was no longer intact. Their belongings have been found. Let's go. Dongbu Shuang walked to Jingqiu's side. All right. Yu Jingqiu nodded and walked out with Dongbu Shuang. The walls of the hall had been destroyed, and even the upper floors had collapsed. Naturally, they were able to walk out of the hall easily. Even if there was no path, a legend ranker like Dongbu Shuang would be able to carve out a path for himself. Dongbu Shuang, thank you. Jingqiu's voice was filled with gratitude. Thank you for saving my life. If not for you, I would have died. In that kind of situation, even if Dongbu Shuang did not save her, it would still be normal. It's nothing much. To me, it's just a small matter. But to you, it's a matter of life and death. Dongbu Shuaying's eyes were filled with a cold glint. I just did not expect that Bai Rong to be so shameless. A knight using a sorcerer as a shield? Dongbu Shuang could be said to have seen it for himself. I also did not expect that he would do such a thing. Jingqiu's hatred towards Bai Rong had also dissipated. After all, he was already dead. Dongbu Shuang, don't worry. I will not say anything about Bai Rong's matter. I will not say anything about what happened inside. Jingqiu felt that Bai Rong had been hiding his strength all along, only revealing it at the most crucial moment. Since that was the case, there was no need for her to reveal it. Dongbu Shuang smiled as he looked at her. Ah, your leg is bleeding. Jingqiu suddenly noticed that Dongbu Shuaying's leg was covered in blood. It was the wound from the explosion. Haha, it has stopped bleeding long ago. The blood has already dried up. It's just a small wound, Dongbu Shuang said. As his body grew stronger, his body's recovery rate also increased. The flesh wound had indeed completely healed. Not even a scar could be seen on his skin. The two of them walked side by side. The man was dressed in black, while the woman was dressed in a green robe. Both of their bodies were wrapped in ice armor. It's Liang Yong. After walking for a while, they finally saw Liang Yong's corpse. The entire inner castle was about 1 to 2 miles in size. The explosion had only destroyed the underground palace. The first and second floors had collapsed, but the entire inner castle was still intact. At the very least, the corridor that Liang Yong was in was still mostly intact. He can be considered to have left behind an intact corpse, Shuang said. Very quickly, the two of them walked out of the inner castle. The Lu clan's castle was completely sealed in ice. The servants and soldiers had long since hidden themselves far away. Dongbu Shuang and Jingqiu looked up at the sky. Although the sky was completely dark, Dongbu Shuiying's terrifying eyesight allowed him to clearly see the flying ship a few hundred meters above the ground. "Come down!" Dongbu Shuiying shouted loudly, his voice reverberating in the silent night sky. The silver flying ship that was in charge of monitoring the situation quickly descended, landing right in front of Dongbu Shuiying and Jingqiu. "Just the two of you?" Two members of the Dragon Mountain Manor walked out. "Where are the rest? Where's Si Bai Rong?" "They're all dead," Dongbu Shuiying said as he took out 3 storage treasures. "This armband is Lian Yong's, this arm guard is Si Bai Rong's, and this ring is Tang Xiong's. Please give them to their families." "They're all dead? What happened?" "They're all dead?" The 2 members of the Dragon Mountain Manor were shocked. One of the knights received the 3 storage treasures. Because there were quite a number of people who died in the Dragon Mountain Manor's missions, the treasures would usually be sent to their respective families. This was a rule that had been established for many years. Of course, it was hard to say if the treasures left behind would be taken by their companions. The knight glanced at Dongbu Shuiying, but did not say anything. Even if they took some gold notes or other treasures, there was no evidence. In reality, Dongbu Shuiying did not take any of the 3 storage treasures. For example, Lian Yong's armband, Dongbu Shuiying had found it in Si Bai Rong's storage treasure. If not for Dongbu Shuiying, Lian Yong's treasures would have been stolen by Si Bai Rong. And here I thought Si Bai Rong would have many treasures, but he's also very poor, Dongbu Shuiying thought to himself. Because he had refined the treasures, he knew that Si Bai Rong's wealth was not even comparable to Tang Xiong's. Obviously, the Si clan had a very strict control over their wealth. This kind of hedonistic young master who was not willing to take risks would only have so little money. Although he usually dressed extravagantly, his pockets were very empty. He could not be compared to someone like Tang Xiong, who had relied on his own strength to rise to power. Of course, the treasures of the 3 of them added up could not even compare to the god's envoy. "This god's envoy is really rich," Dongbu Shuiying exclaimed as he recalled. How could he know the process of this god's endless rise to power? He had even plotted the death of a legend ranker, which was why he had 2 storage rings with such a large space. Dongbu Shuiying was short on gold coins previously. But now, I'm afraid I'm one of the top 10 richest people in the entire Azure River County, Dongbu Shuiying thought to himself. I'm afraid that only some other legend rankers can compare to me. And then, when I go back, I'll have to buy some life-saving magic equipment for my little brother. I still have some powerful magic scrolls with me. Magic scrolls could instantly activate the power of heaven and earth to release a powerful spell. However, it required a mage to guide it. Therefore, knights were unable to use magic scrolls. Of course, in front of a legend ranker who was one with the world and could control the power of heaven and earth. Magic scrolls would not be able to guide even a trace of the power of heaven and earth. To be able to threaten a legend ranker, one had to either be a legend ranker or a transcendent. I'll also strengthen my Snowrock Castle. And I'll also give that girl Yu a good magic staff. For so many years, Dongbu Shuiying had never been this rich. He had obtained all the treasures of a demonic emissary who had lived for so many years. He was even richer than some ordinary legend ranker clans. It was Lu Huai-Ru who caused the entire underground hall to explode. He wanted to perish together with us. You'll know once you go and take a look. Jingqiu did not elaborate. The people from Chutai City's Dragon Mountain Manor will soon take over this place. We will now send the 2 of you back to the county city. All right. Dongbu Shuiying and Jingqiu both nodded and boarded the flying boat. On the flying boat, Jingqiu removed her ice armor. Her eyes were filled with vigor as she looked at Dongbu Shuiying, who was sitting cross-legged beside her. Dongbu Shuiying, when we reach the county city, are you preparing to return? Yes. Dongbu Shuiying nodded. Where do you live in Azure River County? Jingqiu asked curiously. Water Wright's Town's Snow Eagle territory. I welcome Mage Jingqiu to my small territory at any time. Dongbu Shuang said with a smile. Water Rights Town. Jingqiu nodded lightly. Outside the flying boat, the night sky was pitch black. Tonight, there was not even a trace of moonlight. The flying boat flew at high speed, and the sound of the wind could be faintly heard. Jingqiu's heart was in turmoil. She gradually closed her eyes and began to calm down. Today's events would never be forgotten by her. Chapter 50. On the morning of the second day, the flying boat finally arrived at the Dragon Mountain Manor. Today, I will return to the Eternal Wind Academy. This time, during the explosion, I was inspired by the ice magic I cast, so I will return to the academy to study it. I might not return to the Azure River County for a long time. Jingqiu had just sat on the back of a fiery red flying beast when she suddenly said this. She did not know why she suddenly said this. The Eternal Wind Academy, I have never been there before. If I have the time, I will definitely go there. Dongbu Shuang said casually. And Jingqiu did not say anything else. The fiery red flying beast immediately took off. Jingqiu, who was dressed in a green robe, quickly flew away. High up in the sky, she looked back at the Dragon Mountain Manor, which had already become smaller. Then, she looked towards the south. Dongbu Shuang rode the Snow Strider horse out of the Dragon Mountain Manor, and arrived at a shop that sold mage treasures. The shop was very quiet, with only a few customers. After all, the number of mages was very small, and the number of people who came to buy treasures was even smaller. Lulu. Dongbu Shuang got off the horse and handed it over to the attendant. Sir? Immediately, a female attendant came to greet him. Introduce all the ice magic equipment in your shop to me, Dongbu Shuang said casually. The female attendant had a strange look in her eyes. Introduce all of them? This customer was really overbearing. Did he really have the strength, or was he purposely tormenting people? Nevertheless, this female attendant still brought Shuang along as she briefly described each and every one of them to him. Winter bracelet, top quality heaven rank. Inside is an improved miniature ice domain model. Its power is 30% of the power of a meteor rank mage's ice domain, the female attendant said with familiarity. With it, any ordinary mage would be able to instantaneously cast a miniature ice domain. Continue. Dongbu Shuang instantly decided that he wanted this as well. This bracelet is a mid-quality heaven rank equipment. Inside it is an array. Once activated, its power is comparable to a heaven rank mage's arrow storm. Dongbu Shuang listened and filtered. The spell models in the mage equipment were all fixed, and the models were very stable. Mages only needed to instill magic power to activate them. This was the most convenient. Of course, the power of mage equipment couldn't be increased either. A powerful mage still had to rely on their own research to comprehend and build even more powerful spell models. Even a Silver Moon mage, even if they had powerful mage equipment, would not be able to cast any spells under the control of a legend ranker. Therefore, one's own strength was the foundation. Of course, the probability of encountering a legend ranker is extremely small. My little brother is only an ordinary mage now. At most, he can use a heaven-tier mage equipment. As for the meteor mage equipment, it could not be activated. Not bad. Dongbu Shuang sifted through them carefully. This one, this one, this one, and this one. Give me all of them. The maid widened her eyes and mouth. The items that Dongbu Shuang had chosen were all heaven-tier items. What was the best quality of the heaven rank? Normally, the might of a meteor mage equipment would be around 30 to 40%. Some of them were specially created. Calculate how many gold coins would it cost? Dongbu Shuang instructed. All right, give me that staff and that mage robe as well. Dongbu Shuang also chose a staff and mage robe for you. The price of the staff was much cheaper, only 2,000 gold coins. After all, the main purpose of the staff was to support a mage in casting spells. For a mage who was too weak, Giving them the best staff would not be of much use. As for the mage robe, it was actually a heaven-tier mage equipment. It was much more expensive, costing 18,000 gold coins. Dongbu Shuang felt that with his relationship with Yu, it was more than enough. It was not enough for him to give it to her like how he gave his little brother. This lord. Immediately, the shop owner's attention was attracted by the price. He immediately said, "These 5 heaven-tier items are slightly more expensive. Eliminating the small change, it would cost a total of 200,000 gold coins. As for the mage robe and the staff, it would cost 20,000 gold coins. Haha, in total, it would be 200,000 gold coins. I hope that you will come visit us more often in the future. I dare not say that the price I gave you is the cheapest in the entire Azure River County, but it is not too far off." In the entire county city, there were not many people who would dare to spend 200,000 gold coins. For example, the Bent Blade Union's Gubin, who had been crazily plundering for so many years, how much gold coins would he have? Perhaps only a person with a net worth of millions of gold coins would dare to spend so much. This kind of big customer must be properly maintained. And Dongbu Shuang nodded his head. "May I know who this lord is?" the shop owner asked in a low voice. "Dongbu. Just call me Dongbu," Dongbu Shuang said. "Lord Dongbu, our Crimson Moon House has many branches in the entire Tranquil Sun Province. This is a token. In the future, no matter how cheap the item is, you will get a 10% discount." The shop owner immediately presented a purple gold plate. Obviously, this plate was made by a mage. In fact, the items that Dongbu Shuang bought this time were just a little more than 200,000 gold coins after a 10% discount. The shop owner also decided that when he returned, he would thoroughly investigate where in the entire Azure River County there was such a powerful person who could spend 200,000 gold coins. Soon after, Dongbu Shuang went to buy some alchemy equipment. His own robes and inner armor were indeed too poor. They were even worse than many Silver Moon Knights. Moreover, Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong also needed to get a good set of treasures. After purchasing, on the same day, Dongbu Shuang rode the Snow Strider horse and rushed towards Water Rights Town. After 2 days of continuous travel, he arrived at Snow Eagle territory on the evening of the second day. "I'm finally home." Looking at the majestic Snowrock Mountain and the castle at the peak, Dongbu Shuang's heart was filled with joy. This was his home. Da-da-da, the horse galloped and soon arrived at the castle. "Lord has returned. Lord has returned. Quickly go and tell young Master Qingshi." The whole castle quickly became lively. The drawbridge was lowered and the city gates slowly opened. Zong Ling and Tong San also came to the city gates to welcome their return. "Uncle Zong, Uncle Tong." Dongbu Shuang got off the horse and greeted them with a smile. "You must have had a hard time rushing back. Qingshi is still at his teacher's place. The servants have already gone to pass on the message. I believe that Qingshi and you will be back soon." Zong Ling laughed. Dongbu Shuang smiled and nodded. He had just prepared a gift for them. "Oh yes, I have something to tell you. A genius mage from the Sea Clan, Si Chen, has come to visit us," Zong Ling said. "Sea Clan?" Dongbu Shuang frowned. Could it be because of Si Bairong's death? But logically speaking, the Sea Clan should not know the name list of the 5 people who accepted the mission. Dragon Mountain Manor did not dare to divulge it, and Jingqiu also could not divulge it. Moreover, Jingqiu had already gone to the Eternal Wind Academy. Just 2 days ago, this wizard Sichin came over to pay a visit to Grandmaster Bai Yuanji. Both of them are meteor rank mages. It is said that they need to discuss some research, Zong Ling said. "Snow Eagle, you should know the status of the Sea Clan in our Azure River County. I did not dare to neglect them. Fortunately, this Sichin has been living in the Great Mage's building. But since you have returned, you should still meet him." And Dongbu Shuang nodded. What a coincidence! He had just met Si Bairong during the mission, and now a mage, Si Chen, had come to visit him? But since he had arrived 2 days ago, it should have nothing to do with Sea by Rome. It seems that I have some fate with the Sea clan, Dongbush Shuang thought. Uncle Zong, send someone to invite this young master of the Sea clan to a feast tomorrow, Dongbush Shuang said. Chapter 51. That night, inside Snow Rock Castle. The long table was very big, and was filled with dozens of dishes. Dongbush Shuang sat on the main seat. On his left and right were Zongling and Tong San. Opposite him sat his little brother Qing Shi and his girlfriend. As for Kong Yu, she was sitting together with her girlfriend. Brother, this is Ji Rong. She is also teacher's disciple. She lives in Water Rights Town. Qing Shi's face was slightly red, but he still said it straightforwardly. Ji Rong? Ha ha. Dongbush Shuang laughed. You can also call me Big Brother like Qing Shi. Ji Rong greets Big Brother Snow Eagle, Ji Rong said in a crisp voice. This girl named Ji Rong looked a little immature. She should be around the same age as Qing Shi. She was not very tall, but she was small and exquisite. Her eyes were very beautiful. She was a good match for Qing Shi. Unknowingly, Qing Shi had already changed from a chubby little brat to the point where he had a girlfriend. Speaking of which, Qing Shi had never really had a girlfriend before. Although he was close to Yu, because of the matter of saving his parents, he had never made it clear in his heart. This is our first meeting. I have prepared a gift for you. I hope you don't mind, Dongbush Shuang said as he flipped his hand. A white crystal jade box appeared in his hand. Hurry up and go, Qing Shi hurriedly urged his girlfriend. Ji Rong also got up and walked over. She took the box from Dongbush Shui Ying's hand and said, Thank you, Big Brother Snow Eagle. Ha ha. Dongbush Shuang laughed. He was sweating a little. He had bought some important treasures for Qing Shi, Yu, Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong. However, he did not think about his little brother's girlfriend. After all, he had never seen her before. After knowing that his little brother had brought his girlfriend to dinner, Dongbush Shuang hurriedly went through the items. Fortunately, he had gained a lot from this trip. In the corner of the demonic emissary's spatial ring, there was a box of jewels. He reckoned that the demonic emissary had obtained it by chance at some point in time. That box of jewels was worth more than 100,000 gold coins. Shuang immediately picked out a relatively beautiful piece and placed it in a top-notch crystal jade box. He reckoned that it was worth around 1,000 gold coins. After all, she was his little brother's girlfriend. She was not his real wife. 1,000 gold coins was more than enough. Some territories only earned about 1,000 gold coins a year. Brother, you went up quite quickly this time. I thought it would be delayed for another half a month, Qing Shi said. This time, I brought some gifts for you and Yu during my trip to the county capital. Shuang laughed. Yu, this is yours. Saying that, Shuang flipped his hand, taking out a staff and a set of violet robes. Brother Snow Eagle, are you giving these to me? Yu hesitated. The staff looked expensive and the robe looked extraordinary. This staff is made from the wood of the wind songwood. It is very valuable. Just take it when I tell you to. Dongbush Shuang shook his head and smiled. The staff was only worth 2,000 gold coins. The robe was worth 18,000 gold coins. The robe was a heaven-rank mage's protective equipment. If this girl knew that this robe is a heaven-rank mage's equipment, I am afraid she would not accept it. Dongbush Shuang laughed. And Yu accepted it. Ji Rong was sitting beside Yu. She looked at the staff and the robe. Suddenly, her expression changed. Brother, what about me? Where is mine? Didn't you say you would bring me a gift? Qing Shi could not help but ask. What's the hurry? Dongbush Shuang looked at him. Look at your impatient expression. I will give it to you after dinner. You did it on purpose, Qing Shi said helplessly. I did it on purpose. I wanted to sharpen your temper. As a mage, you do not even have this little bit of patience. Dongbush Shuang shook his head. Oh. Qing Shi could only obediently hang his head. After dinner, Yu stayed in Snow Rock Castle. Snow Rock Castle had prepared a small courtyard for Yu. As for Qingshi, he sent his girlfriend back to the mage's building. Jirong, let me see what gift my brother gave you. Qingshi and Jirong walked side by side. Only then did Jirong open the crystal box. Inside the box was a necklace made of emerald. The emerald emitted a faint green light in the dark night. A top-quality emerald necklace, Jirong said. I am afraid it is worth nearly 1,000 gold coins. As a mage, she naturally knew a lot of materials and jewelry. So expensive. Qingshi was surprised. Then he said proudly, My brother is generous, right? Generous, not just ordinary generous. Jirong put away the jade box. After a moment of silence, she whispered, Dongbui Qingshi, do you know how much the gift your brother gave to Kong Yu is worth? That staff? Wind Songwood? I think it is worth 2,000 gold coins, Qingshi said casually. Sister Yu has been in our Snow Rock Castle for a long time. She has a good relationship with my brother. But my brother has never given her a staff. It is normal for him to give her a good staff. Humph! Jirong snorted. I am not talking about the staff. I am talking about that robe. That mage equipment robe. Mage equipment? Qingshi stared at her. Are you sure? Kong Yu was beside me. I saw it clearly. That robe is a mage equipment. There is also a symbol on it. It is the symbol of Master Alchemist Master Yanwen. Master Yanwen's equipment is at least Earth rank. Most of them are even Heaven rank. Jirong snorted. Are you sure? Qingshi could not believe it. I am also a mage. How could I be wrong? Jirong's eyes flashed with an inexplicable light. Master Yanwen personally made it. Even if it is an Earth rank, it would be a top-quality Earth rank item. That robe would cost at least 5,000 gold coins. It might even cost more than 10,000 gold coins. Not to mention that staff. This time, your brother gave Kong Yu a gift of around 10,000 gold coins. Dongbui Qingshi, your brother is not just any ordinary kind of forthright. Qingshi grinned. My brother and you are very close. Don't be silly. Jirong lowered her voice. You and your brother are blood brothers. You are also the heir of Snow Eagle territory. Are you just going to watch your brother give away these treasures? Qingshi was slightly surprised. You are 16 years old today. You can't always live with your brother, right? You have to be independent, right? Jirong said. Even blood brothers can settle accounts. Why are you saying this? Qingshi frowned. He was a little annoyed. I am doing this for your own good, Jirong said. I have already seen it. That year, my father desperately went into business because he trusted my uncle too much. The money he earned belonged to the whole family. After 20 years of hard work, the whole family was earned by my father. What happened in the end? My uncle turned hostile and chased my father out. My father didn't have anything. He didn't even have a place to live. He had to stay at my mother's house. I am saying this to tell you that you don't have the intention to harm others. But you have to be cautious. I have heard you say that your brother trained very hard. Moreover, he soaked in medicinal baths every day. That's why his body didn't collapse. But do you know how much it costs to soak in medicinal baths every day for a year? It costs 5,000 gold coins a year. From the age of 6 to 16, your brother spent a total of 10 years. In total, he spent 50,000 gold coins. Jirong said. At that time, your parents bought a noble title and territory. They also bought a large number of star-breaking crossbows. They also prepared medicinal baths for your brother for many years. There were also armors, castles, and other expenses. All of these added up to nearly 200,000 gold coins. This shows that your parents obtained a huge amount of wealth during their adventure. You have always been extravagant. Before your brother killed the Silver Moon Wolf King, he never earned any money. He has always been spending the money left behind by your parents. Jirong said. Do you know how much money your parents left behind? Do you? Qingshi was silent. You don't know, Jirong sneered. Such a huge amount of wealth. When your parents went on a life and death adventure, they probably obtained a relic of a legend rancor. Maybe they even obtained a relic of a transcendent. Anything is possible. But now, everything is under your brother's control. You don't know anything about what your parents left behind. Everything is under your brother's control. Now, he just casually gave Kong Yu a treasure worth tens of thousands of gold coins. Tens of thousands of gold coins. My father worked hard for 20 years to earn that much, but he just casually gave it to her. Jirong looked at Qingshi. Strictly speaking, these things don't belong to your brother. They were left behind by your parents. It should be shared between you and your brother. Chapter 52. As the direct descendant of the Dongbo clan, it's fine that you didn't get a share. But you should at least know how much wealth your parents left behind, right? Jirong shook her head. But you don't know anything. Maybe I'm being mean, but it's always good to be on guard. Enough, don't say any more. Qingshi was a little angry. You don't understand the relationship between me and my brother. When your brother kicks you out, you'll be dumbfounded. Jirong shook her head. You shut up! Qingshi's eyes were red with tears. He is my brother, my most important family member. Do you know that? Jirong was a little scared. She looked at the red-eyed teenager in front of her, and couldn't help but lower her head and reach out to grab Qingshi's hand. I'm sorry, I was wrong. You don't understand the relationship between me and my brother. In the future, don't talk about this. I'm very uncomfortable. Qingshi's voice was trembling. NN. Jirong nodded and softly said, You know, when my father was kicked out, our family was very miserable. We didn't have a place to live, so we temporarily stayed with my mother's family. Me, my father, my mother. Were always looked down upon by my mother's family, always suppressed. That period of time is the most unpleasant memory for me. Fortunately, my father pulled himself together and started a business, otherwise, I'm afraid I wouldn't have the opportunity to learn magic. I understand you, Qingshi said. But our family is different from yours. Well, you can go back, I'll also go back. After saying that, Qingshi turned around and walked back to the castle. Jirong silently looked at Qingshi's receding back. I didn't expect his brother to have such a high position in his heart. Jirong slightly frowned. I've been learning magic together with Dongbo Qingshi for almost half a year, and I've been his girlfriend for almost half a year. It's only now that I've found the opportunity to talk about it. Moreover, what I said was just a matter of course. I didn't expect it to stimulate him so much. What kind of wealth did this Dongbo family get? If I can find out. Jirong gently smiled. A trace of evilness flashed in her eyes. Although he and his brother have a deep relationship, today can be considered as opening a crack. Flowers will bear fruit. This Dongbo Qingshi is too young and naive. His brother is too protective of him. If he can't even deal with this brat, then that would be a big joke. Dongbo Qingshi was on his way back to the castle. My brother has never lied to me. Dongbo kicked away a pebble. The pebble flew up and landed in the distance. It rolled for a long distance, and directly rolled down the mountain top. When I first became Master's disciple, I heard that Master's condition was 50,000 gold coins or the Silver Moon Wolf King's heart. Dongbo Qingshi's eyes suddenly lit up. My brother told me that there would be news within a month. Afterwards, he and Uncle Zong went to the mountain range of desolation. He eradicated the Bent Blade Union in one fell swoop and successfully killed the Silver Moon Wolf King. That's why he was recognized as Water Rights Town's #1 expert. By the way, I still remember, when I accompanied my brother to buy the Feishu Godly Spear, my brother wrote an IOU and owed them 10,000 gold coins. Dongbo Qingshi's eyes became brighter and brighter. Yes, that's right. If father and mother really left behind a fortune, how could my brother risk his life in the mountain range of desolation instead of giving them 50,000 gold coins? How could he write an IOU of 10,000 gold coins? After growing up, he finally understood how dangerous the mountain range of desolation was. He also later learned of the harsh condition his teacher had for accepting a disciple, 50,000 gold coins or the Silvermoon Wolf King's heart. Although Dongbui Shuang didn't say it, it wasn't a secret. Since Qin Shi had always been a disciple, he naturally knew about it very quickly. Coupled with the fact that his brother had killed the Silvermoon Wolf King in the mountain range of desolation, he could naturally deduce this. Therefore, he was very grateful to his brother. He felt that his brother was like a huge mountain, always protecting him. It was said that a father's love was like a mountain. But in his memory, his parents were very vague. He only remembered that his brother had taken care of him for so many years. What do you mean by guarding against others? My brother would never do that. There's no knowing what's in a man's heart. Even if my brother really did something, even if he chased me out of Snow Eagle territory, I would still be willing. Dongbui Qin Shi clenched his teeth. It was undeniable that Ji Rong's words of one must always be on guard against others had some influence on him. It made him realize that as he grew up, he would have to rely on himself. After all, if he had to rely on his brother forever, it would be boring. Damn it, I'm not feeling good. Dongbui Qin Shi felt very uncomfortable. For many years he had lived a carefree life, but Ji Rong's words had caused his mind to be in a mess. Snow Rock Castle, inside the study room. Dongbui Shuang smiled as he sat at the side, watching Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong experiment with the alchemy armor and boots. Snow Eagle, you're really extravagant. Zong Ling couldn't help but say. How many gold coins did you spend to buy so many? Ha ha ha, it's nothing much. Dongbui Shuang grinned. This time, when I accepted the mission, I met with some twists and turns. I actually found a legend ranker. Legend ranker? Zong Ling and Tong San were shocked. God. To them, a legend ranker was like an endless sky, an unreachable existence. That was why they were very proud of Dongbui Shuang's battle prowess. But they also thought that Dongbui Shuang was still too young. He hadn't even comprehended one with the world. Compared to some of the older generation's legendary legend rankers, he was still a bit weaker. They didn't expect to meet a legend ranker during the mission. Even though his combat power is very strong, and he has some formidable techniques, I've still managed to kill him. Shuang grinned. He was relatively happy. He died, and I lived. I obtained his storage ring. There were a lot of treasures in it. Haha, buying these was easy. Zong Ling and Tong San were both excited and proud of Dongbui Shuang. Snow Eagle. Zong Ling was slightly worried. I didn't expect a Black Iron mission to meet with such an accident. You said you wanted to accumulate 20,000 merit points to save Dongbui, you and the others. But 20,000 merit points, even if it's a bronze mission, you said that the easier ones are only 1,000 merit points. I'm afraid a bronze mission with 10,000 merit points is a more dangerous one. Even Black Iron quests have their own twists and turns. Even bronze quests, which are inherently dangerous, are ranked high. You want to complete them twice? Zong Ling was a little uneasy. It's too unsafe. Why don't you wait a little longer until you're stronger? Don't worry, Uncle Zong. I will take care of myself. Dongbui Shuang consoled him. Confidence? Zong Ling was still uneasy. How? A Black Iron mission had already produced a legend ranker. What if a transcendent suddenly appeared in a difficult bronze mission? Although Dragon Mountain Manor wouldn't arrange a suicide mission, accidents were hard to say. Brother. Dongbui Qin Shi's voice came from outside. Qin Shi is here. Dongbui Shuang smiled. The door to the study was pushed open and Dongbui Qin Shi walked in excitedly. Brother, didn't you say you were going to give me a gift? What gift? Wow, Uncle Zong, Uncle Tong, why did you guys change? The inner armors you're wearing seem to be extraordinary. Why did you change your boots too? I've never seen them before. This time, I went out with a big harvest, so I bought some gifts. Dongbui Shuang smiled. I also bought some for you. Saying that, he waved his hand. Hoo, treasures appeared on the side, they were all top-quality heaven-rank mage tools. This robe contains a complete spell model of ice and water armor. It's a simplified protective spell formed by the combination of ice armor and water ripple. It's both hard and soft, and it can be activated instantly. Its power can be 50% of a meteor-rank mage's defensive spell. Dongbu Shuang proudly introduced them one by one. This bracelet contains a small-scale ice domain spell model. It also has 30% of a meteor-rank spell's power. This ring. Dongbu Shuang introduced them one by one. Qing Shi was shocked and excited. He finally understood why his brother gave Kong Yu the staff, mage equipment, and robe this time. He hadn't given her anything in the past few years. This was because his brother's harvest this time was huge. Even the value of Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong's alchemy treasures were definitely higher than Kong Yu's. As for his own items, they were even more valuable. All of them were heaven-ranked mage equipment. In the past, he didn't even dare to think about it. Chapter 53. This is the last item, and also the most important one. Dongbu Shuang picked up a pendant and opened it. Inside was a transparent sphere. It can store mana. At most, it can store all the mana of a heaven-rank mage. Your mana is still too little. Using these mage equipment will be very strenuous. Normally, you should store more mana. At crucial moments, you can use it to cast more spells. Yes. Qing Shi nodded his head. His brother was too considerate. But these are still external forces, Dongbu Shuang advised. Becoming stronger yourself is the most important. Although there were many of these equipment, a truly powerful knight, even a meteor knight, would still be able to threaten Qing Shi's life. These mage equipment could at most dominate those below the meteor rank. Of course, they had the advantage of being able to cast them instantaneously. They could barely fight against a meteor knight. Brother, I understand. These equipment are already very powerful. Even teacher doesn't have so many mage equipment, Qing Shi said. I just obtained this storage ring. The space inside it is very big. Its value is hard to estimate. You must not expose it. Dongbu Shuang took out a black ring. At first glance, this ring looked like a circle made of iron wire. You are an official mage now. Remember to disguise this ring a little to prevent others from recognizing it. Although there was nothing special about the ring from the outside, Dongbu Shuang was still very cautious. One must know that a storage ring with a space of 3 feet was worth tens of thousands of gold coins. This kind of storage ring with a space of 3 meters. The space inside it was already very shocking. Normally, it would be worth close to 1,000,000 gold coins. This number was very frightening. This kind of storage ring was usually in the hands of legend rankers. Normally, nobles and merchants would not have the ability to protect such a valuable item. Even among legend rankers, there were many storage rings that did not have such a big space. Is it very big? After obtaining it, Qing Shi easily refined it with his mana. He immediately widened his eyes. So big! It was very difficult to refine a storage treasure. Some very small spaces could be obtained through some special alchemy methods. As for some of the larger space rings, they had to ask an extraordinary great wizard who was very proficient in the aspect of space to personally cut out a stable space. For some extraordinary life forms, they might be able to cut out space, but they had to stabilize it. Furthermore, it was very difficult to fix it in a storage treasure. Therefore, every large space ring was extremely expensive. Qing Shi was a mage, so of course he understood the value of such a storage ring. Brother, how did you get it? Qing Shi hastily asked. This mistress, haha, I told you, I had a great harvest outside this time. Dongbu Shuang laughed. You should also take a look at the magic scrolls in the storage ring. Uncle Zong, Uncle Tong, and I are unable to use these scrolls, so I'll give them to you. The value of these scrolls added together is quite shocking. You have to study them one by one. These are your life-saving treasures. Magic scrolls were even more heaven-defying. He threw out a scroll, channeled his magic power, and with a boom, a powerful magic exploded. Of course, the scroll was also consumed. Therefore, throwing magic scrolls was equivalent to throwing gold coins. Furthermore, magic scrolls were still very popular. During a critical moment, when a mage did not have the time to slowly recite the incantation to cast a powerful magic, they would be able to instantly use the magic scrolls to save their lives. These were the spoils of war of that god's envoy. Dongbu Shuang took all of them and left them all to his little brother. Big brother, these magic scrolls are too precious. Qin Shi sensed that these magic scrolls were all extraordinary. Some of them should be rank 5 magic scrolls. As for whether there were rank 6 magic scrolls, he would need to study them. I'm a little scared. Qin Shi was slightly worried. So many treasures caused him to tremble in fear. What are you scared of? Dongbu Shuang shook his head. Categorize the magic scrolls according to their power. Don't use these magic scrolls unless it's a critical moment. In a life and death situation, survival is the most important thing. Oh. Qin Shi nodded. Use the ring as a disguise and carry the magic scrolls with you. As long as you don't say anything, Uncle Zong, Uncle Tong, and I will not harm you. No one will know. Dongbu Shuang said. Remember, don't tell anyone. Even if it's your little girlfriend. Don't tell anyone. Inside Snow Rock Castle, Dongbu Shuang only trusted these 3 people in front of him. Needless to say, Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong had a true life and death relationship with his father and mother. They were like family to him. Not to mention his relationship with his little brother. It's just that his little brother was too young. He was afraid that he would brag about it to others. Thus, Dongbu Shuang gave him a serious reminder. Big brother, don't worry. I know. I won't tell anyone. Qin Shi replied. Haha, don't be nervous. It's just some external objects. Your own strength is the most important thing. Dongbu Shuang laughed. He never really cared about these external objects. However, Qin Shi felt very complicated. Previously, his girlfriend had said so much. But now, his big brother had given him a gift that was unimaginably expensive. His teacher Bai Yuanji had worked hard for so many years, but it wasn't even 10% of his wealth, right? Big brother. Qin Shi walked over and hugged Dongbu Shuang. I want to hug you for a while. You little brat. Dongbu Shuang was stunned when he was hugged by his little brother. He then rubbed his little brother's head gently. When he was young, his little brother would often hug him. Even when he slept, he loved to hug him. However, as he grew older, it had been a long time since he hugged him like this. And it's done. Qin Shi raised his head and grinned. Big brother, I'm going back to study those scrolls. With that, he turned and dashed away. Shuang looked at the open door of the study room, his eyebrows slightly wrinkled. We're leaving too. Snow Eagle, sleep early. Tong San said. Close the door first. I have something to say. Dongbu Shuang frowned. Zong Ling closed the door, and the two looked at Dongbu Shuang. I feel that Qin Shi is different today. Dongbu Shuang frowned. Although he pretends to be natural, I've seen him grow up. I can guess what he's thinking with just a blink of an eye. He can't hide it from me. He even hugged me at the end. That's why I feel that something is wrong. Oh? Zong Ling and Tong San were puzzled. Dongbu Shuang thought for a while and said, At his age, he doesn't have much to worry about in the mountains. I'm afraid that he has some relationship problems. Moreover, everything was fine during dinner. He sent his girlfriend back, but now I'm in a bad mood. I'm afraid it has something to do with his girlfriend. Uncle Zong, Dongbu Shuang said. I'll write a letter right now. Send someone to Water Rights Town's Dragon Mountain Manor to Manor Lord Xian. I need his help. I need to find out everything about my little brother's girlfriend, Jerome. I need to know everything about her since she was young, all her relatives, everything she's done since she was born. I need to know what kind of person this Jerome is. Even if his little brother's mood wasn't right today, he would still find out everything about this Jerome. How could Dongwu Shuang rest assured that his little brother would date her and live together with her in the future? Okay, I'll send someone over today. Zhongling nodded and smiled. Snow Eagle, why didn't you tell Qingshi that you've reached legend rank? That's right, Snow Eagle. You're about to accept a bronze rank mission. Why are you still hiding it? Tong San said. Dongwu Shuang lightly shook his head. Qingshi has too little experience. He's too naive. If he knew that I'm a legend rank, who knows how arrogant he would be. It's even possible for him to become a flamboyant playboy, which I don't want to see. Qingshi is still not diligent enough in his magic practice. Even Yu has broken through to the earth rank, but he is still an ordinary mage. Don't be too demanding. He's only 16 years old. Zhongling laughed. I entered the mountain range of desolation to kill the shadow leopard when I was 15. Dongwu Shuang shook his head. I still need to find Master Bai Yuanji to give Qingshi some pressure. Don't be idle every day. His talent in magic is much higher than Mother's, and his mental strength has been extremely high since he was a child. However, his strength is only average among Master Bai Yuanji's group of disciples. Even Yu, whose cultivation talent was far inferior to his, has a higher cultivation than him. Dongwu Shuang was now a legend rank. He stood at the peak of the mortal world. His goal was to become a transcendent. But what worried him the most was his little brother. The next morning, Waterite's town, Dragon Mountain Manor. Lord, this is a handwritten letter from Dongwu Shuang. The white-haired old man Yu placed a letter on the long table. Lord Xian was sitting there. His ears twitched, and he looked up. It's a handwritten letter from Dongwu Shuang? Why did it arrive so early? It was sent last night. Yu replied. What's so urgent that it was sent overnight? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Lord Xian immediately picked up the letter. Yu smiled. I took a look. It's not anything important. It's just that Dongwu Shuang asked you to help investigate his little brother's girlfriend Jirong. It was too late at that time, so I didn't want to disturb you. In the future, if there's anything regarding Dongwu Shuang, you must inform me immediately. Lord Xian solemnly said. Okay, I understand. Yu felt a little strange. This was just a trivial matter of investigating a little girlfriend. Why did he need to know immediately? The dignified Dragon Mountain Manor's lord was so cheap? Right, he also sent someone to attach 1,000 gold coins and gold notes. Yu said. Dongwu Shuang's way of doing things is really interesting. Lord Xian also smiled. It was fine for these experts to ask Dragon Mountain Manor for help, but because it wasn't official business, they generally had to pay a fee for their services. Asking for a person's background and taking out 1,000 gold coins was considered a large sum. Jirong? Lord Xian immediately ordered. Immediately arrange for someone to investigate Jirong's background with the highest level of information. Her parents, her relatives and friends. Everything from when she was born until now. Investigate everything clearly, as soon as possible. The highest level? Yu was surprised. Dragon Mountain Manor originally monitored the world. Their information network was number 1 in the world. But such a small matter needed the highest level of information? This was too much of a joke. Yes, go. Lord Xian ordered. Yes. Yu could only accept the order and immediately went to arrange it. Lord Xian sat there and picked up a file next to him. He opened the scroll and looked at it. Lord Xian, keep an eye on Dongwu Shuang. Pay attention to all news about him. This person is suspected to be a legend ranker. There's a 50% chance of him being a legend ranker. This was an order from the county capital. Legend ranker? Really? Lord Xian couldn't help but mutter. He had already received the news for a day, but he was still in shock. But the county capital had enough evidence. For instance, Dongwu Shuang had spent 500,000 gold coins on shopping in the county city, and this was only a supplementary amount. The key point was the battle in the Liu family's castle. Because the demon god was involved, Dragon Mountain Manor was very careful in their investigation. They found short spears embedded deep in the boulder. Among the 5 experts that were dispatched, only Dongbu Shuiying used short spears. When he was 15 years old, Dongbu Shuiying used short spears to kill a large number of bandits from the Bent Blade Union. At the same time, they also found curved darts deeply embedded in the boulder. Each curved dart was refined by a powerful master alchemist, and was worth 1,000 gold coins. Even a silver moon knight wouldn't be so extravagant. Judging from the depth of these darts and short spears embedded in the boulder, only a legend ranker could pierce so deeply. The explosion would not have allowed the short spears to penetrate so deeply into the boulder. In addition, the power of the explosion was enough to kill a silver moon knight. But Dongbu Shuiying wasn't injured at all. Even Jingqiu survived. There were also various other clues. For example, there were some traces of battle left on the boulder. From these, it could be vaguely deduced that a battle between legend rankers took place here. Moreover, the other party might have died, and the one who survived was the young Dongbu Shuiying. Therefore, Dongbu Shuiying had become extremely wealthy. That was why he could casually spend 500,000 gold coins in the county capital. Such a young legend knight? If it's true, it's too scary, Lord Xian muttered. The entire tranquil Sun Province's Dragon Mountain Manor had already focused their attention on Dongbu Shuiying. Chapter 54. Dongbu Shuiying hosted a banquet to welcome the young mage from the Sea clan, Xichen. After seeing him, Dongbu Shuiying secretly nodded his head. To be able to become a meteor mage at such a young age, he is indeed extraordinary. He is completely different from Sea by Rome. That's right. The Sea clan has been flourishing in the Azure River County for hundreds of years. The number of clansmen is huge, but they are a mix of good and bad. Although they have a playboy like Sea by Rome, they also have a true elite like Xichen. For a knight, before stepping into the legend rank, one's innate talent is still more important. If one's body was talented, coupled with resources and a good battle chi technique, they would be able to cultivate smoothly until they reached the Silver Moon Knight rank. Therefore, among the Silver Moon Knights, there are a bunch of good-looking but useless ones. Mages, on the other hand, are different. They need to analyze the world and nature. They have a high requirement for wisdom and knowledge. No powerful mage can be underestimated. Dongbu Shuiying sighed. None of the mages he had met were stupid. They were all intelligent and shrewd. Knights, on the other hand, were different. There were brave ones, reckless ones, and foolish ones. However, to step into the legend rank, be it a knight or a mage, it is equally difficult. Dongbu Shuiying nodded his head slightly. Becoming a legend ranker was too difficult. A young Silver Moon Knight would not be valued as it depended on one's innate talent. But legend ranker, the requirement for one's spirit was simply too high. Even though he had been a spear master for many years, Dongbu Shuiying was still unable to achieve one with the world. He only had the strength of a legend ranker because of his primordial bloodline. From this, it could be seen how difficult it was to achieve one with the world. Any legend ranker, no matter if they were a knight or a mage, were all truly amazing. Their spiritual cultivation was extremely high. They were either heroes, ambitious and ruthless characters, or demons. All of them were extraordinary. Only such an existence could hope to become a transcendent. At that time, they would no longer be mortals, and even the gods would be afraid of them. Time passed day by day. Dongbu Shuiying was not in a hurry to accept the mission because he could vaguely feel that the change in his soul had reached a critical moment. Awesome! Awesome! After practicing his spear art for a while and stretching his body, Dongbu Shuiying felt extremely comfortable and he leaped into the air. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, he had reached the roof of the castle's main building. The castle's main building occupied a relatively large area, and its roof was very wide. It was made out of huge rocks. Shuiying casually sat on a flight of stairs, leaning against the huge rock behind him as he looked at the distant scene. This was the highest point of the castle. With a glance, the distant castle walls were very low, and were not an obstacle at all. The surrounding mountain peaks were all within his line of sight. The wizard tower was also clearly visible. At the foot of the mountain, there were some farmlands and villages where commoners lived. Boom, boom, boom! In the distance, at the foot of the mountain, there was a huge white chain. That was the origin of the name of Azure River County, Azure River. The Azure River stretched for thousands of miles, and was the mother river of the entire Azure River County. The width of the river was usually more than a few thousand meters. Even though he was looking down from above, Dongbu Shuang could still hear the roaring of the river. So beautiful! A smile appeared on Dongbu Shuang's face. The castle, the mountain, the countless villages dotted with stars, and the winding Azure River. Everything was like a dream. Ever since he was young, Dongbu Shuang loved to look down at his own territory like this. It was truly beautiful. This was his home, and he loved his home. With a flip of his hand, he took out an iron flask of wine and took a sip. The wine was very spicy, burning his heart. Normally, Dongbu Shuang would drink some fruit wine and tea. He would never touch a single drop of strong alcohol. Only when he was in a good or bad mood would he drink a little. Obviously, he was in a good mood right now. Killing the god's envoy had allowed Dongbu Shuang to have a clearer view of himself. There was hope to save his parents. His younger brother had also grown up. All of this caused Dongbu Shuang to be in a good mood. As for the other trivial matters, he was too lazy to care about them. In front of his absolute strength, whoever dared to cause trouble in the Snow Eagle territory, he would crush them to death. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Gradually, Dongbu Shuang's breathing slowed down, his heartbeats slowed down, and his blood flows slowed down. Dongbu Shuang's heart became calmer and calmer. His perception of his surroundings became clearer and clearer. He could even hear the footsteps of the servants in the castle, and the laughter of the soldiers in the distance. The wind around him. It was howling. The wind on the mountain peak was extremely strong, and it felt very comfortable. There was the fragrance of flowers. There was the fragrance of grass. Nature, how beautiful! Dongbu Shuang was extremely happy as he felt everything around him. Pew! All of a sudden, he could feel the entire world trembling. Or rather, it was not the world that was trembling, but his heart. It was like a chick breaking out of its shell, or a small blade of grass growing out of the soil. In that instant, Dongbu Shuang felt that his spirit, which had been shackled by his physical body, had finally broken through the shackles. His spirit broke out of his shell and became one with the world around him. Originally, he had always felt that nature was beautiful, but that was only because he was looking at it through a thin veil. Now that his spirit had broken through the veil and become one with the world, the feeling was completely different. The wind blew, and he felt as though he himself had become the wind. Countless gusts of wind were chasing each other, mixing together, or scattering chaotically. There were even more subtle, innumerable powers. The power of fire, the power of water, the power of the earth, the power of wind, the power of lightning, the power of light, the power of darkness. All sorts of fundamental powers originated from the world. He could clearly feel them. This was the true power of heaven and earth. Mages needed to use their magic power to construct spell models to guide the power of heaven and earth to cast spells. But after attaining the state of being one with the world, one could directly control the power of heaven and earth. This was the difference in essence. Therefore, in front of a legend ranker, anyone below the legend rank would not be able to guide the power of heaven and earth. Naturally, they would not be able to cast any powerful spells. So comfortable. After his spirit broke out of his shell and became one with the world, he was instantly nourished by the power of heaven and earth. Just like a small sapling that was being watered by water, it started to grow. Ever since he was born, this was the first time his spirit was directly nourished by the power of heaven and earth. In an instant, it started to transform. This transformation was extremely fast. Dongbu Shuang was still immersed in the feeling of being one with the world. Before he could even recover, the transformation of his spirit gradually stopped. However, at this moment, the power of his spirit was already 10 to 100 times stronger than before. With the nourishment of heaven and earth and the strengthening of his spirit, there was now hope for him to step into the realm of transcendence. One with the world! Dongbu Shuang thought. Boom! Immediately, the power of fire surged into his body, directly rushing through his body. There was no need for him to use his dou qi to guide it. This was many times faster than usual. Dongbu Shuiying's body, which was originally progressing very slowly, started to become stronger under the crazy absorption of the power of fire. He could clearly feel the change in his body. No wonder. Knights who have yet to awaken their primordial bloodline would need to become one with the world and borrow the power of heaven and earth to complete their accumulation, allowing their dou qi to undergo a qualitative change and step into the realm of legend. Dongbu Shuiying was delighted. At this moment, his body was absorbing the power of the outside world. Even the dou qi within his body was being absorbed. The liquid form of the dou qi was continuously being absorbed, becoming denser and denser. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the qi in his dantian started to ache. It was obvious that he could no longer absorb any more. An hour later, even his body, which had awakened his primordial bloodline, could no longer withstand the energy and was unable to absorb any more. It was impossible for a person to become fat in a single mouthful. It was obvious that the power of heaven and earth was limitless. Dongbu Shuiying's body also needed a natural transformation process. Based on this rate, I should be able to step into the realm of Silver Moon Night within half a month. Dongbu Shuiying was extremely happy. My body's strength is also growing every day. I'm afraid that in another 2 months my strength will double again. After becoming one with the world, Dongbu Shuiying's body would continue to improve until it reached the realm of transcendence, which was the true limit of his primordial bloodline. That was an extremely terrifying power. One with the world. I, Dongbu Shuiying, am 22 years old and have finally become one with the world. Dongbu Shuiying stood up and stood on the roof. He looked at the vast sky, the vast land, and the surging green river in the distance. He could not help but be filled with pride. I have the hope of stepping into the realm of transcendence in the future. Transcendence, flying in the sky and burrowing into the ground, drinking wine with the deities, tearing the demons apart. He had seen the 3,000 legend rankers on the Dragon Mountain book. Dongbu Shuiying understood how heaven-defying it was to be able to become one with the world at the age of 22. His spirit grew so quickly. He had more than 100 years to find his own path and step into the realm of transcendence. Hu! Dongbu Shuiying released his spirit and became one with the world. Everything around him became incomparably clear. He could even sense some of the soldiers and family members outside the castle. Dongbu Shuiying could not help but blush. He immediately sensed other places and found Yuyu's residence. Yuyu was currently in her house in her courtyard, chatting with another young man. Yuyu's younger brother is here as well? Dongbu Shuiying was slightly surprised. Chapter 55. Yuyu too. She didn't even say a word when her brother came. Seems like we have to add more dishes today. Suddenly, Shuiying's eyebrows twitched. Under the effect of one with the world, even the sound of a fly flapping its wings could be heard clearly. Naturally, the conversation between Yuyu and her brother, Kong Hao, could be heard clearly. Inside Yuyu's house. Father asked you to come because of this? Yuyu asked softly. Yes. Kong Hao replied. Father also said that the Sea Clan's position in the entire Azure River County is incomparably high. No matter if it's the military officers, county governors, city lords, or even some fierce bandits, rich merchants, or even some dark gangs, all forces in the open or in the dark, they all have to submit to the Sea Clan. The Sea Clan is the sky of Azure River County. Whoever it says is guilty, that person is guilty. Even if they are not guilty, they are guilty. Kong Hao said. And Sichin is the true pride of the Sea Clan. He is only 20 years old this year, but he has already been a meteor mage for 2 years. He is doted on by the ancestors of the Sea Clan. In the future, when he becomes a Silver Moon Mage, his position will be even higher. Father said that you don't have to marry Dongbu Shuiying. If you can marry Si Chen, that would be even better. He said that if our Kong clan and the Sea Clan have a good relationship, we can really reach the heavens in a single step. Kong Hao said. Kong Hao immediately curled his lips. But big sister, I think father is too realistic. Anyway, I support big sister. Actually, you don't have to care about father. He's just saying it. After all, marrying that young Master Sichin isn't guaranteed. Humph. Yi lightly sneered. Father has always been such a person. That was all she said, and nothing more. Sigh, father has given strict orders. These years I have always wanted to get close to Dongbu Shuiying. Yi lightly sighed. Although I have tried very hard, and he has also gotten closer to me, he still has not publicly announced that I am his girlfriend. He doesn't like you? Kong Hao asked. That's not it either. He has always been focused on spear arts. Apart from me and some of the maids in the castle, he hasn't even spoken to any other young girls. Yi said. Dongbu Shuiying is cold on the outside but warm on the inside. As long as he slowly gets used to it, I believe that with his temperament, he will marry me in the future. But being with him is really boring. Yi shook her head. I'm afraid he hasn't realized it yet. He doesn't know how to coax people, and he's not interesting at all. They're not even as good as the male disciples of the great mage's tower at coaxing others. Sis, you don't like Dongbu Shuiying? Kong Hao was shocked. When I first came here when I was young, I admired him quite a lot. But after I learned magic from my teacher and understood the vastness of the world, I felt that he was just ordinary. He was just a martial arts man who was obsessed with the spear. On the roof of the city tower, under the state of one with the heaven and man, even Kong Yu's eyes and facial expressions were extremely clear to him. He could clearly feel the trace of disdain on the corner of her mouth when she called him a martial arts man. Dongbu Shuiying's face was slightly pale. Indeed, he did not like Kong Yu that much. He did not have any passionate feelings for her, and he did not even intend to make it clear. After all, he might lose his life in the future bronze-level mission. But after 6 years of being together, humans are not cold-blooded animals. They would eventually develop some feelings. When he heard Kong Yu's words, Dongbu Shuiying could not believe it. She's actually this kind of person. His heart felt as if it was being pressed by a huge rock. It was very uncomfortable. Lie, he had actually been lied to all this time. It was ridiculous that he thought that Yu had always been in love with him. If he wanted to marry her, it would be very simple and easy. But the truth was, Yu had never really liked him. That's right. He had no interest, and was always focusing on his spear skills. He did not know how to coax people. But why did you keep lying to me? Damn it. Dongbu Shuiying's heart was burning. The 6 years of simple and honest feelings could not be considered as love, but it could be considered as friendship. But it was all a lie. So it was all a facade. She's actually this kind of person. Originally, Dongbu Shuiying thought that Kong Yu was very obedient, but now he felt that she was disgusting. Yes. He did not have many friends, and Kong Yu could be considered as a good friend. But she had always been deceiving him, and even thought that he was just a martial arts fanatic. Why am I so angry? What's there to be angry about? I have never liked her so passionately, nor have I ever fallen for her. Dongbu Shuiying laughed at himself, but no matter how he comforted himself, these 6 years of feelings were all lies, and it made him very uncomfortable. Kong Yu smiled. In comparison, this Sea family's young master Sichin is much smarter. Although he is a little silly, at least he knows how to coax people. Sichin pursued you? Kong Hao stared. Yes. Kong Yu nodded lightly. Kong Yu indeed had the qualifications to attract people. She was quite beautiful, and very obedient. In addition, she was used to seeing people's hearts since young, and had a very accurate grasp of it. After many days of subtle guidance, young Master Sichin did indeed gradually notice Kong Yu, and began to pursue her. But Kong Yu always maintained a distance, trailing Sichin. You like Sichin? Kong Hao was surprised again. Kong Yu slightly paused. A little. How could it be? How could she fall in love with a man so easily? But she did feel that this Sichin was a better prey than Dongbu Shuiying. Younger, more handsome, and most importantly, more promising. Compared to her, Shuiying was like a wooden lump. He was not interesting at all. Furthermore, he did not have any feelings for her. He was too dull. Sister, what are you going to do? Kong Hao asked curiously. I haven't decided yet, let nature take its course slowly. Kong Yu said she had already made her decision. But in front of her brother, some things had to be hidden. Otherwise, her brother would think that this sister was too ruthless, and that would not be good. Dongbu Shuiying walked on the stone road in the castle, his whole body emitting a cold aura. Those servants did not dare to approach. They all felt that their lord was in a bad mood. Soon, Dongbu Shuiying walked to the entrance of Kong Yu's courtyard. Pung! He pressed his hand on the courtyard door, and the door bolt was instantly broken. He directly pushed the door open. Who is it? Kong Yu's voice was still gentle and curious, only to see Kong Hao and Yu walking out of the house. Both of them saw Dongbu Shuiying standing in the courtyard. Brother Snow Eagle! Yu shouted happily. But when Dongbu Shuiying stood there, the surrounding atmosphere seemed to solidify. A sense of oppression spread out, causing Yu and Kong Hao to tremble. I never thought that you, Kong Yu, are such a person. Dongbu Shuiying's voice was a little hoarse. I really don't know how to have fun. I am a martial arts man who only knows how to practice spear skills. Kong Hao's eyes widened. Kong Yu's heart also turned cold. How did he know? But the words don't know how to have fun and martial arts man meant that Dongbu Shuiying knew about their conversation. There was no point in trying to cover it up. Brother Snow Eagle, I'm sorry, father forced me to do this. He forced me to do this. Yu said. I didn't want to do this. Dongbu Shuiying just looked at her, coldly looking at her. Previously, when he was in the one with the world state, he clearly remembered Kong Yu's expression when she said that he was a martial arts man. This kind of expression, she had never revealed it before, but under the one with the world state he saw it. At this moment, no matter how she pretended, he would never believe her. Being stared at by Dongbu Shuiying, Kong Yu felt an invisible pressure, causing her heart to flutter. Her usually calm heart started to tremble. She was very smart, and understood people's hearts, so she knew how to deal with any situation. But at this moment, being stared at by Dongbu Shuiying made her flustered. What she didn't know was that this was actually a kind of spiritual pressure. After being in the one with the world state, Dongbu Shuiying's spiritual strength was extremely strong. Being stared at by him, the pressure was no less than 10,000 people staring at one person at the same time. I'm leaving now. Yu didn't explain anymore, turned around and went into the house to pack up. Dongbu Shuiying stood in the courtyard, silently. After a while, he saw Yu and Kong Hao each carrying a box, quickly walking out of the courtyard. Miss Yu. The soldiers at the gate greeted them politely. Yu forced a smile, brought her brother out of the castle, and walked towards the great mage's building. How did he find out? He actually found out that I was talking to my brother. Yu turned around and looked at the Snowrock Castle. She understood that it would be very difficult to enter this castle in the future. I haven't really made Sichin loyal to me. It's not worth it to fall out with Dongbu Shuiying now. Let's wait for a period of time, until Sichin's side is settled. Forget it, since it has already happened, it's useless to regret. He's just a martial arts fanatic, what's there to be proud of? He only has a bit of fame in this small place, Waterites Town. In front of the Sea Clan, what is he? But it's still not bad, at least I got a staff and a mage robe from him. Yu secretly thought. It's actually this kind of person, Dongbu Shuiying, really have an ordinary eye for people. Dongbu Shuiying leaped up to the roof of the castle, and sat on the roof, overlooking the vast Snow Eagle territory. I still haven't interacted with enough people to actually be deceived like this. Forget it, it's also a kind of experience. Dongbu Shuang was originally a spear master, and the reason why he was able to achieve one with the world was because his spear mastery was high enough. He gradually understood the heaven and earth. His temperament was also as sharp as a spear. Cut the Gordian knot. Since this woman had deceived him, then he would just chase her out of Snowrock Castle, and there would be no more entanglement. She is she, I am me. Maybe it's like father and mother. A love born between life and death, to be able to entrust each other with life and death, is more suitable for me? Dongbu Shuang suddenly laughed, and raised his head to drink the wine. His spirit had been tempered to such a state, there was no such thing as an ordinary emotion that penetrated deep into his bones, so he could easily cut it off. And I have already achieved one with the world. Which method is more suitable for me to become a transcendent? Dongbu Shuang began to think about the path to become a transcendent in the future. Becoming a transcendent was his goal. Chapter 56. Snow Rock Castle's Training Grounds. Ho. When Feishua's godly spear was executed, it naturally brought along snowflakes. In the surrounding snowflakes, there was a faint flicker of light. The black-robed Dongbu Shuang was currently executing his spear technique to his heart's content. His current spear technique was completely different from the floating snow's spear technique. The floating snow's spear technique was like a blossoming spear flower. At this moment, Dongbu Shuang's spear was retracted slightly after each thrust. The rotational force was much stronger. Furthermore, there was a large amount of heaven and earth energy gathered at the tip of the spear. The strong rotational force and a large amount of heaven and earth energy were being used as leverage. Just by retracting the spear slightly, he was able to thrust out a second time. Between the two spear tips, one could vaguely see the trajectory of the spear with the naked eye. Countless spear shadows, countless threads. It was like a light drizzle, connecting together to form threads. This was the second level of mysterious ice spear technique, blood rain. This technique seems to have utilized the heaven and earth energy to the extreme, reaching an unimaginable level. Using all the heaven and earth energy to increase my spear technique's speed, Dongbu Shuang exclaimed. The creator of this spear technique, Gu Yuanhan, had indeed pursued the spear technique's speed to an astonishing level. Although he was already one with the world, he had spent a total of 6 days just to learn this technique. If he were to create it himself, the requirements for his body's strength, the internal force of the spear technique, and the borrowing of the heaven and earth energy would be too high. Of course, this Ice Knight Gu Yuanhan had only decided to record down his spear technique when he stood at the peak of the transcendence, and passed down his spear technique to his descendants. After learning the mysterious ice spear technique's blood rain, my spear technique's speed has increased. If I were to meet that god's envoy again, killing him would be much easier. Dongbu Shuang revealed a smile. With a spear technique that was fast enough, it would cause the enemy to have a hard time defending. It would be hard for the enemy to avoid revealing an opening, and he would be able to take the opportunity to kill him. Snow Eagle. A person walked in from outside the training grounds. It was Zhongling. Zhongling sighed and said, "Your spear art has long reached perfection, but you still practice it every day. It really makes me feel ashamed. I also have to put in more effort to practice. The more I practice my spear arts, the more I feel how insignificant I am." Dongbu Shuang raised his head and looked at the sky. Nature is full of mysteries. We're just mortals. The longer I practice my spear arts, the more confused I become. The profoundness of my spear arts. Compared to the profoundness of nature, the difference is too great. It's not even worth mentioning. Haha, that's enough. What nature? We can't even feel what you're talking about. Isn't that even more pitiful? Zhongling joked. Dongbu Shuang also smiled. He was only able to feel the profoundness of nature after achieving one with the world. His spirit could soar with the wind, soar with the flames, feel the heaviness of the earth, and flow with the water. Because the more he felt it, the more he understood the profoundness of nature. His heart was filled with reverence. For example, his own spear arts. When he was defending, he could faintly feel the profoundness of water. However, when his spirit and water were completely fused together, he could feel the natural flow of water. Yet he realized how simple and crude his spear arts were. It was like the difference between a child's scribbles and a real natural scene. Of course, without achieving one with the world, the feeling wouldn't be this intense. Uncle Zone. Dongbush Shuang asked curiously. Why didn't I see Qingshi today? He didn't even come back at noon? I heard from the soldiers that Qingshi and his girlfriend brought some soldiers down the mountain early in the morning. They went to Water Rights Town to play. Zhong Ling's 6 arms held onto 6 scimitars as he started to perform a simple warm-up. Youngsters are really good. Oh? Dongbush Shuang nodded. Qingshi and his girlfriend's relationship was really good. He didn't find it strange that they would go to Water Rights Town to play every few days. The sun was setting. A group of soldiers was waiting on the side of the road. Next to them, a young couple was leisurely taking a walk, admiring the beautiful flowers and plants. This young couple was Qingshi and Jirong. This little flower is really beautiful. Here, we can only see a little more flowers and plants in the summer. Normally, it's very cold, and even covered with snow. Jirong plucked a small yellow flower and inserted it into her hair. She turned her head to look at Qingshi and smiled brilliantly. Is it beautiful? Beautiful. In the entire Water Rights Town, there aren't many beautiful women. Qingshi also smiled. Although a few days ago, there was a trace of unhappiness between the two of them, Jirong didn't mention it again. Naturally, the relationship between the two of them gradually recovered. This time, they went to Water Rights Town together, so their mood was extremely good. Your mouth is really sweet. Jirong teased. How come I didn't know that your mouth was so sweet? But speaking of beauties, Sister Yu is prettier than me. Oh right, I found out that Sister Yu hasn't been to the castle these days? What's wrong? Did something happen between her and your brother? Qingshi nodded. I also found out that Sister Yu hasn't been to the castle. I asked brother, but he told me not to ask. He also said that Sister Yu will never return to the castle again. He also told me to keep a distance from her. It seems like they broke up. Jirong said. Maybe. Qingshi smiled. Actually, my brother and Sister Yu have never started. Jirong smiled. She was a little proud and carefree. Among the female disciples under Bai Yuanji, although she was confident in her appearance and temperament, she was always suppressed by Yu. In fact, just based on appearance, she was already very beautiful. Her eyes were even more attractive. It was just that her stature was a little small, but her body proportion was still very good, small and exquisite. Kong Yu, on the other hand, was slightly taller and more graceful. In addition, Kong Yu seemed to treat everyone very well, so many disciples liked her very much. In addition, she had an inexplicable relationship with Dongbush Shuang. Naturally, she became the leader amongst the female disciples. Da-da-da. The sound of heavy hooves could be heard on the road beside them. A group of dark red armored cavalrymen was advancing. The leader of the cavalry was a young man with triangular eyes dressed in a gorgeous white robe. He looked to his left and right with a spirited appearance. Brother Zhao, this Water Rights Town is really a remote place. Compared to our county city, it's so much worse. However, the 2 beauties sent by the Lord of Water Rights Town are not bad. The white-robed young man with triangular eyes laughed. Beside him was a grim gray-robed knight. Young master, you have played enough. When you enter the army, you will have to obediently follow the rules. In other places, he can protect you. But in the army, you are not allowed to mess around. Don't worry, once I enter the army, I will definitely not mess around. The white-robed young man with triangular eyes said. Suddenly his eyes lit up. Looking at Jirong, who was together with Dongbuo and Qingshi, he couldn't help but drool. Brother Zhao, look, she is quite a beautiful girl. She has a taste. Jerome was only 16 years old. She was slightly immature, but her figure was already quite good. As a female mage, her temperament was not something an ordinary girl could compare with. She wore a small wildflower on her head. This made the white-robed young man's heart itch. The number of female mages was very small. Beautiful female mages were even rarer. They were chased by some rich and noble children. "Hey, girl!" the white-robed young man with triangular eyes shouted. The treading on snow horse immediately went out of the official road. He approached them and said with a smile, "Brother will play with you, okay? The silly boy beside you is too young. He doesn't know the taste of a beauty. Brother will let you understand." Humph. Qing Shi and Jiron's complexions slightly changed. The soldiers of Snow Eagle territory were even more furious. Many of them even took out the star-breaking crossbows from their backs. "Who are you?" Qing Shi coldly shouted. At least in Waterite's town, no one dared to provoke him. "Young master." The gray-robed knight recognized the insignia on the armors of these soldiers. He rode his horse closer and whispered, "This is Waterite's town's Snow Eagle territory's people. The leader of Snow Eagle territory, Dongbua Shuang. When he was 15 years old, he went to the mountain range of desolation and killed the Silver Moon Wolf King. Now, he should be a Silver Moon Knight. We are not far from the army. Let's not cause any trouble." "Snow Eagle territory, Dongbua Shuang?" The white-robed young man with triangular eyes frowned. If this was Azure River County, he wouldn't care about a mere Dongbua Shuang. His family in Azure River County had a lot of power. Although he had to listen to the Sea family, he was still quite powerful. But in any case, they were still quite powerful, and they looked down on the families of these remote small cities. But this time, he only brought a small escort team. The leader of the escort team was a meteor knight. Facing the Snow Eagle territory, it was still somewhat difficult. In his heart, he had already given up, but the white-robed young man with triangular eyes was not willing to back down. He sneered, "Who am I? Humph, a remote family like yours doesn't have the qualifications to know." "You heard it clearly," Jerome, who was standing beside Qing Shi, said angrily. "He is the Snow Eagle territory's Dongbua Qing Shi. His brother is the Snow Eagle territory's leader, Dongbua Shuang. You actually dared to tease me. Qing Shi, did you not react at all? Did you just let him tease me? Apologize to her." How could Qing Shi lose face in front of his girlfriend? He immediately shouted, "Otherwise, don't even think of leaving Waterite's town. Yo, you're really strong." The white-robed young man with triangular eyes, who had originally planned to give up, was already used to being arrogant. At this moment, his anger flared up. His eyes flashed with a cold light. "A small family in a remote area dares to be arrogant in front of me? You really overestimate yourself. Go, kill all the men, and take that little beauty away." He steeled his heart. After killing them, he will directly go to the army. By the time that Dongbua Shuang finds out, it will be too late. Yes. The group of dark red armored soldiers behind him, who were already used to killing, immediately complied. "You dare?" Qing Shi was shocked. "Just admitting a mistake and you want to kill them? Go." The gray-robed knight frowned, but he still leapt down from his horse. A layer of green dochi appeared on the surface of his body as he charged forward at an extremely fast speed. Seeing this scene, the soldiers of the Snow Eagle territory were shocked. A meteor knight? The Snow Eagle territory soldiers holding the star-breaking crossbows all panicked. The star-breaking crossbows could indeed threaten a meteor knight. However, it usually required over 100 star-breaking crossbows to surround and attack at the same time. Otherwise, with the meteor knight's speed, it would be very difficult for them to aim accurately. Quickly disperse, and attack that white-robed man. The soldiers were very experienced, and one by one, they quickly began to disperse. Kill! The soldiers in dark red armor all rushed out. The white-robed youth in the distance flipped his hand, and a shield appeared in front of him. With a shield, he was hiding far away. He wasn't afraid of the star-breaking crossbows at all. He sneered as he looked at everything. "Brat, you dare to be arrogant with me? You really are courting death." Ah! The meteor knight was simply killing ordinary soldiers. In an instant, one of the Snow Eagle Territory soldiers who tried to disperse was killed with a single slash. Even more dark red armored soldiers directly charged towards Dongwu Qingshi. Qingshi had never encountered anything like this before, and he was panicking. His magic equipment spells were simply unable to defeat so many people at the same time, especially when there was a meteor knight among them. With a flip of his hand, a magic scroll appeared. It was one of the many magic scrolls that Dongwu Shuang had given him. It was a level 5 magic scroll. Chapter 57. Not good! The gray-robed meteor knight saw the young man throw out the scroll and felt an indescribable fear. The young man stared at him. Obviously, the main target of this powerful spell was this meteor knight. Boom! 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 Huge bolts of green lightning appeared out of nowhere and struck the ground like giant trees. These densely packed thunderbolts. A total of 8 of them twisted and struck the meteor knight's body at the same time. That gray-robed knight was unable to dodge at all. With a boom, his entire body was instantly turned into charcoal. Even a silver moon mage had to spend a lot of time chanting the incantation to cast this powerful spell of the 5th rank. The power of this spell was unimaginable. No! The white-robed, triangular-eyed young man who was hiding at the back and holding a shield widened his eyes in fear. Boom! His entire body was instantly shattered. He was too weak and couldn't withstand it. These huge green thunderbolts struck down like trees. There were a total of 99 thunderbolts. This was the spell of the 5th rank, Lightning Forest. With Qingshi's guidance ability, he could only barely focus on the meteor knight. As for the other thunderbolt trees, he couldn't precisely guide them. He could only try his best to direct the thunderbolts in other directions so as not to harm the soldiers of the Snow Eagle army. Therefore, one of the thunderbolt trees just so happened to strike the triangular-eyed young man. This was his bad luck. Many of the soldiers in dark red armor were also affected. Naturally, they died instantly after being affected by the spell of the 5th rank. The soldiers of the Snow Eagle army were already spread out. They were few in number, and Qingshi controlled the lightning forest to avoid them. Therefore, not a single one of them was struck. Run! Quick! Run! The 20 or so soldiers who were lucky enough to escape from the lightning forest were all terrified. They all rode their horses and quickly ran away. Shio! 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 The soldiers of the Snow Eagle army immediately chased after them with the star-shattering crossbows. Are you all right? Qingshi held his girlfriend's hand. Aye. Jiron was also frightened. Almost. Fortunately, Qingshi, you have a powerful spell scroll. This is a life-saving item my brother gave me. Qingshi did not elaborate further because Dongwu Shuang had strictly forbidden him from leaking the information. Today, he was forced into a corner and had no other choice. Very soon, the pursuing soldiers of Snow Eagle Territory retreated. Young Master Qingshi, more of their soldiers escaped. Since it's troublesome to load the star-shattering crossbows, 16 of them escaped. Immediately, one of the team leaders hastily reported. Clean this place up. We're going back to Snowrock Castle, Qingshi said, feeling somewhat uneasy. In the evening. At the entrance of the castle, Dongwu Shuang, Zonling, Tong San and the others were gathered here after receiving the message from their servants. The drawbridge was slowly lowered and the castle gates were opening. Outside the city gate was Qingshi's group. They had also returned with some corpses. I will return to the Great Master's building first, Jirong said in a low voice. Yes. Qingshi nodded. The door opened. Qingshi walked up to Dongwu Shuang and bowed his head. Brother. Go back and rest first. We'll talk about it later tonight. Dongwu Shuang did not blame him. He could see that his younger brother was somewhat flustered. Qin Shi nodded lightly and immediately entered the castle. You follow me. Dongbua Shuang glanced at the team leader. The team leader immediately followed respectfully. A group of people walked inside the castle. What happened? Dongbua Shuang asked. Beside him, Zhong Ling and Tong San were also listening. Sir Lord, today we were escorting the young master and Miss Ji Rong to Water Rights Town as usual. Team leader Wu began to narrate the entire process in detail. When he finished, he sighed. Fortunately, young Master Qin Shi cast a spell. Otherwise, more than 2 of our brothers would have died. The Grey-Cloaked Knight was too fast. Before the Thunder Forest spell struck, he had already killed 2 Snow Eagle soldiers. Dongbua Shuang nodded. The compensation for the soldiers who died will be doubled. The castle will continue to provide for their families. The other soldiers will receive 10 silver coins each. Thank you, Sir Lord. Team leader Wu said gratefully. Do you recognize the young master in white? Dongbua Shuang asked. I don't recognize him. From his tone, he doesn't seem to be from Water Rights Town. Team leader Wu said. Dongbua Shuang furrowed his brows. This was a bit troublesome. His younger brother had killed a noble. This was not a big matter, but it was not a small matter either. Even from the perspective of the Empire's laws, the other party attacked first. His younger brother was retaliating. If the other party was only an ordinary noble, then it would be fine. However, if they were from a large family, then this matter would not be resolved so easily. It was very likely that there would be trouble. Since Snow Eagle is not from Water Rights Town, then it will be troublesome to investigate. The entire Azure River County is too big. There are so many noble families. Who knows which one he is from? Zhong Ling was also worried. Do you have their corpses? Dongbua Shuang asked. Yes, we brought them back. However, the young master in white was directly destroyed by the Thunder Forest spell. The Meteor Knight's corpse is still there, but because he was struck by several Thunder Forest spells at the same time, he was burned to a crisp. We can't even see his face anymore. Team leader Wu said. Are there any survivors? Dongbua Shuang asked. At that time, our brothers were very angry and did not show any mercy. Moreover, almost all of them were shot by the star-breaking crossbows. Those people died almost instantly. The 2 heavily injured ones were also killed by our angry brothers. Team leader Wu said helplessly. Not a single survivor. Dongbua Shuiying's eyebrows showed a trace of killing intent. It would be troublesome to find out the other party's identity. Who cares? Looking at the entire Azure River County, his younger brother was clearly retaliating. In the dark. Even if it was the strongest person in Azure River County, Si Lianghong, or even the extremely terrifying Xiang Pengyun, Dongbua Shuiying was not afraid of them. Moreover, Dongbua Shuiying felt that the background of the noble young master who was killed was not too exaggerated. Investigate. Dongbua Shuiying ordered. Investigate from the corpses and see if you can find any clues to find out their identities. I will arrange it now, Zhong Ling said. He was very meticulous and did things properly. 6 hours is enough. If you can't find anything, we can only ask the Dragon Mountain Manor to investigate, Dongbua Shuiying said. The 3rd Division that was stationed in Azure River County was at the edge of the mountain range of desolation. Normally, the city guards in Azure River County. These local troops were all controlled by the Sea clan. However, the troops stationed around the mountain range of desolation were directly under the Empire. They were the Empire's army and were even more powerful and mysterious. The Sea clan could only rely on their connections to slightly influence the Empire's army in their own territory. However, they were unable to truly control them. Moreover, the Empire's army had a very strong background. Normally, when a large number of troops entered the mountain range of desolation, there would be transcendence behind them. The 3rd Division, in a rather spacious room. Second Master. Young Master is dead. A group of soldiers stood in a sorry state. Sitting there was a one-eyed officer. The one-eyed officer's face was so gloomy that it was almost dripping water. He gritted his teeth and said, "Young master is actually dead? You are all trash, trash. My elder brother will definitely go crazy, definitely. Tell me, who did it, and how did he die?" "Yes, yes, yes." The soldiers quickly explained everything. The one-eyed officer's face twitched as he listened. He was able to become a supervisor in the 3rd Division's logistics department because his elder brother had spent a lot of money and connections. His elder brother was a very crazy person. In the entire Azure River County, everyone said that he was a loyal dog of the Sea Clan. But why did they use the word dog to describe him? It was because his elder brother was very crazy and would often do crazy things. The dead young Master Chui, who was his elder brother's only son. Snow Eagle Leader Dongbui Shui Ying's younger brother? Dongbui Qin Shi? The one-eyed officer gritted his teeth and said, "How dare they kill my Chui clan's people? Dongbui Qin Shi must die. His elder brother must die too. The entire Snow Eagle Leader must be buried with him." These soldiers originally only knew that he was from the Snow Eagle Leader. It was Ji Rong who shouted out that he was Dongbui Qin Shi, Dongbui Shui Ying's younger brother, and threatened him. These ordinary soldiers naturally knew the details of the other party's identity. "I have to inform elder brother as soon as possible." The one-eyed officer did not hesitate, and immediately stood up. He used the Empire's Army's communication system to send the news to Azure River County. As the person in charge of logistics, it was very easy for him to contact his family. About 10 li away from the 3rd Division, on a tall mountain, a cute little wolf that was snow-white in color but had 4 pitch-black hooves, surrounded by a faint aura of darkness, was looking at the camp of the 3rd Regiment in the distance. This little wolf looked like it was only a few months old and was still very young. However, its eyes were filled with sadness and endless hatred. Not long after it was born, its mother was killed by humans. And just a moment ago, its father was also killed and brought to the encampment by the soldiers. It used its innate ability to secretly follow them, but now it did not dare to do so. In the future, it would be the encampment of the human army. "Child," a gentle voice sounded. Beside it, the dark energy gathered and quickly condensed into a black-robed, white-haired old man. His eyes were filled with love. "Do you hate humans?" The little wolf looked at the old man and felt a sense of familiarity. It let out a low growl. "Hate. Of course it hated. Your parents are only ordinary magical beasts. However, you have extraordinary power. However, this power needs to be fully controlled. Only then will you have the chance to take revenge on the humans." The black-robed old man extended his hand and a strange white bone scepter appeared. "I will give you this chance." Wing, a stream of blood-red light flew out from the white bone scepter and enveloped the wolf cub's body. The wolf cub's body began to change under the blood-red light. Gradually, it began to stand upright. Its fur disappeared, its 4 paws turned into 4 limbs, and its head turned into a human's. In just a moment, a 5 or 6-year-old naked human child stood there. "This is your human body. It is a real human body. Humans will not be able to find any flaws," the black-robed old man said. "Only when you truly enter the human world will you be able to take revenge on them. Let's go. Before entering the human world, you will follow me for 10 years. You can call me Father." "Yes, Father." The human child stuttered, but it still spoke clearly. "How extraordinary. You can speak as soon as you transform into a human." The black-robed old man revealed a hint of a smile. "Let's go." A patch of darkness enveloped the old man and the child. And then they disappeared into thin air. Chapter 58. Night, within the Azure River County, in a luxurious mansion that occupied an area of more than a mile. A large number of tyrannical guards were patrolling the surroundings of the mansion. Even within the mansion, there were teams of guards. The security was extremely tight. This was because the owner of this mansion, Chui Jinping, was the boss of the entire Azure River County's underworld. All sorts of dark and dirty things were under his control. He was also a loyal dog of the Sea clan. Many people wanted to replace his position, wanting to become the boss of the underworld. Thus, killing and fighting were common occurrences. Who? The breathing of the servants in the mansion was very low, suppressing their breaths. Only when they could not bear it any more would they slowly take a deep breath. Many of their backs were drenched in sweat. This was because tonight, their master had already killed a total of 12 servants. Damn it! Damn it, damn it, damn it! In the luxurious main hall, a golden-robed Shui Jinping was pacing back and forth. His eyes were filled with endless anger. Everyone else in the main hall had retreated and were waiting outside. Who are? Shui Jinping's heart was trembling. He was cruel, he was crazy. He was born in the slums. His mother was a prostitute, and he had no father. His mother did not care about his life or death. Ever since he was young, he was like a wild dog climbing up step by step. He stepped on the corpses and blood of countless people to climb up. In this underworld, he reached an extremely high position. He was even recognized by the uncrowned emperor of the Azure River County, Si Lianghong. Walking in the dark for so many years, he could be said to have committed all sorts of crimes. However, the one he doted on the most was still his only son. He had prepared everything for his son. If his son wanted a beautiful woman, he, as his father, would personally capture one and give it to his son. Perhaps because he pampered his son too much, or perhaps because he was not good at teaching his son became more and more domineering. Shui Jinping could no longer protect his son, so he sent him to the army to temper himself. Who would have thought? He actually died. Who are? If you die, how will I live? Shui Jinping's face was full of tears. At this moment, this crazy underground tyrant was incomparably pained. I want them to die. I want them to be buried with you. The Snow Eagle Territory's Dongbua family. That damned Dongbua Qingshi, and his brother Dongbua Shuang, and all the people in the castle, I want them to be buried with you. Shui Jinping's eyes were filled with endless madness. I want them to be buried with me. Big brother. A person rushed in from outside. It was an orc man with a face and body covered in fur. He had a pair of green eyes, and it was obvious that he was a werewolf. This person was the second in command of their gang, and he was also an extremely powerful Silver Moon Knight. His big brother was called Mad Dog by some enemies, and he was called Wild Wolf. Big bro, just say the word and we'll kill our way over. The werewolf growled malevolently. Are we confident in killing our way over? No! Shui Jinping's face was ferocious. Didn't you hear the news? Hu Er and Zhao Lao Wu were killed by a spell scroll. Even a meteor knight couldn't withstand the spell and died instantly. That must be a rank 5 spell. That Dongbua Shuang should be a Silver Moon Knight. He is in his castle, and our gang only has 3 Silver Moon Knights. Do we have the confidence to kill them? That's their lair. Then what should we do? The werewolf was anxious. Bounty! Shui Jinping's face was ice cold. Bloodshed Tavern! Bloodshed Tavern? The werewolf was shocked. Bloodshed Tavern was an incomparably ancient power. Its existence was almost the same as the history of the entire plane of existence. The bounty was set by the Bloodshed Tavern. Moreover, the Bloodshed Tavern would take 80% of the bounty, and the remaining 20% was the real bounty for the assassins. Therefore, the bounty was usually very exaggerated. Then the bounty will be very, very high. The werewolf couldn't help but say, I want them to die. I want the entire Dongbua family to die. As long as they die, I will pay any price. Shui Jinping clenched his teeth. This news was sent by my second brother through the Empire's army. I have to hurry. Once that Dongbua Shuang finds out that he is my son, he might make the first move. Yes. The werewolf nodded. They had been in the underground world for a long time, so they understood the principle of making the first move. Pass down my order. Do not leak the news of my son's death. Lock up all the servants who know about it. Chui Jinping said coldly. Wait until the entire Dongbua family is dead, then let them go. I will set off now, to the Bloodshed Tavern. Since he had already made his move, he couldn't give the opponent any chance to retaliate. Night Bloodshed Tavern. This was a rather lively tavern. Many adventurers and other people who lived on the edge of a knife hung around here. Even the rich and powerful nobles didn't dare to be impudent here. Because the people here were all people who put their lives on the line. Who cared about your identity. If you killed them, these people would immediately escape. Moreover, many of the assassins were roaming around. Even if you killed them, it would be very difficult to find out their identity. Upstairs. There was a side door in the tavern. Only those who could directly issue or accept a mission could go up. Chui Jinping, who was wrapped in a black robe, took out a bloodshed order. One must know that not everyone had the qualifications to issue and accept missions. Either the bloodshed order, or the black iron order or bronze order issued by the Dragon Mountain Manor could prove one's strength and identity. On the second floor of the tavern. It was very quiet. Although there were a few people here, all of them were either hiding their identities or wearing masks. Obviously, there were very few assassins who were willing to reveal their identity. Like the #1 expert in the entire Azure River County, Xiang Pangyun, there were very few who would be so ostentatious. After all, Xiang Pangyun's strength was too great. If he was willing to establish a clan, then the entire Azure River County Sea clan's position would be shaken. I want the bounty. Chui Jinping entered a room and sat down. Opposite him sat a purple-robed woman. Please speak. The purple-robed woman smiled. I want to kill the Water Rights Town's Snow Eagle Territories Dongbua clan. I want the entire Dongbua clan's Snow Rock Castle to die. Especially the two brothers, Dongbua Qingshi and Dongbua Shuiying. They must die. Chui Jinping's voice was filled with killing intent. Sure, please wait a moment. We need to calculate the bounty. The purple-robed woman said. Killing? Even if it was killing Transcendence, the Bloodshed Tavern would still accept it. As long as you can afford it. Humph. Chui Jinping endured and waited. His eyes flashed with killing intent. He really couldn't bear it anymore. He wanted to eradicate the entire Dongbua clan as soon as possible to avenge his son. At this moment, the purple-robed woman looked at the crystal ball in her hand. On the crystal ball, some words appeared. The purple-robed woman nodded and said, To destroy the Water Rights Town's Dongbua clan, you need 3 million gold coins. 3 million? Chui Jinping fiercely stood up. How can it be so high? This is crazy. That Dongbua Shuiying is just a Silver Moon Knight. To destroy such a clan, you need 3 million gold coins? Even if your Bloodshed Tavern takes 80% of the bounty, the remaining 20% is still a total of 600,000 gold coins. Do you really need that much to destroy their clan? What kind of assassin would need such a price? The Bloodshed Tavern's pricing was very strict. Even though the Dragon Mountain Manor's information on Dongbua Shuiying was confidential. But the Bloodshed Tavern's information on Dongbua Shuiying was that he killed a Silver Moon Wolf King and a Shadow Leopard at the age of 15. Even though killing the Shadow Leopard was a secret and was sold in secret, the Bloodshed Tavern and Dragon Mountain Manor were still able to find out about it. The Bloodshed Tavern believed that Dongbua Shuiying was a Silver Moon Knight at the age of 15. Furthermore, he had spent more than 500,000 gold coins. To dare to spend so extravagantly, how could one not have a few million gold coins? The Bloodshed Tavern believed that there was a 30% chance that Dongbua Shuiying was already a legend ranker. Therefore, they set such a price. If it was 100% confirmed, the price would be doubled. This. Chui Jinping did not dare to believe it. This price was too high. A normal legend ranker's clan would only have 2 to 3 million gold coins. In other words, a normal legend ranker would not be able to afford it even if they sold their entire clan's fortune. Although Chui Jinping was the leader of the underground world, he still had the Sea clan above him. After saving for so many years, he barely had 1,000,000 gold coins. Our Bloodshed Tavern's price is non-negotiable. If you cannot afford it, please leave, the purple-robed woman said indifferently. Chapter 59. Cui Jinping's face darkened. In front of the Bloodshed Tavern, no one dared to put on airs. Even the emperor who united the world and established the Dragon Mountain Empire, as a god, still maintained the position of the Bloodshed Tavern and the Temple of the Earth God. But 3,000,000 gold coins, he really could not afford it. Was he not going to take revenge? Even if he died, he would not accept it. I will change the mission. Cui Jinping clenched his teeth. Forget about the others, I only want the murderer Dongbui Qingshi dead. Murderer? The purple-robed lady's eyebrows moved as she looked at Cui Jinping. But according to the rules of the Bloodshed Tavern, she would not ask or leak the information. Yes, the murderer. Cui Jinping also believed in the reputation of the Bloodshed Tavern. He clenched his teeth. I want this damned murderer dead. His name is Dongbui Qingshi. Tell me, how much does it cost to kill such a mage? Oh right, we need to act quickly. I am worried that Dongbui Shuang will find out the truth, and then there will be many twists and turns. Please believe in the speed of the Bloodshed Tavern. The purple-robed lady smiled. Please wait for a moment, the price of the murderer Dongbui Qingshi will be out soon. The purple-robed lady looked at the crystal ball on the table in front of her. In one day, kill the murderer Dongbui Qingshi, and it will cost 1,000,000 gold coins, the purple-robed lady said. 1,000,000 gold coins? He is just a normal mage, not even an earth-rank mage. Cui Jinping stared. As long as we send a powerful assassin to assassinate him, it will be easy. Snowrock Castle must be heavily guarded now. That Dongbui Qingshi will probably stay in the castle for a while. The purple-robed lady said. If you give us 1 year, I am afraid this mission will only cost 100,000 gold coins. But if you want to complete it in 1 day, we still need to send the mission to the killer, and the killer still needs to prepare and rush over. It is too short. I am afraid that he will have to face the obstruction of other people in Snowrock Castle. The purple-robed lady smiled. Cui Jinping clenched his teeth. The price of the Bloodshed Tavern could not be negotiated. Either he put down the bounty or get lost. Good! Cui Jinping's expression was ferocious. Hurry up and finish this as soon as possible. Pay up. The violet-robed woman looked at him. Although Cui Jinping was extremely distressed, the pain of losing his son had long since driven him crazy. He was willing to do anything. With a flip of his hand, he took out a large stack of gold notes. This stack of gold notes was exactly 1,000,000 gold notes. In the past, he liked to take them out and count them when he had nothing to do. It was extremely refreshing. This was all he had accumulated after struggling in the underground world for so many years. It was a pleasure. The purple-robed woman smiled and said, We will immediately arrange for suitable assassins. Yes. Cui Jinping nodded, his eyes burning with hatred. He could almost see the death of that Dongbui Qingshi. He trusted the strength of the Bloodshed Tavern. The missions accepted by the Bloodshed Tavern would usually be completed, unless there was an extremely special situation. For example, the mission was to kill a legend ranker, but it was actually a transcendent. The Bloodshed Tavern would temporarily cancel the mission and request a price increase. There will be no refunds. This was the rule of the Bloodshed Tavern. If you couldn't accept it, then don't come. In fact, the Bloodshed Tavern already had a good reputation. In the same night, the Bloodshed Tavern used its own secret information channel to quickly notify the 3 terrifying assassins in the Azure River County. The mission was very urgent, and they had to respond within 2 hours. If they didn't accept it, then the Bloodshed Tavern would immediately notify other powerful assassins in the other counties. This mission was because of the obstruction of Dongbui Shuang, and Dongbui Shuang might be a legend ranker. Therefore, those who accepted this mission were all legend rankers. Because there was no need to kill Dongbui Shuang, the price was 1,000,000 gold coins. If they wanted to kill Dongwu Shuang, there was only one assassin in the entire Azure River County who had the qualifications to accept this mission, Xiang Pangyun. He was the strongest existence in the entire Azure River County. He possessed absolute strength and could kill an ordinary legend ranker in a single move. His strength caused people to tremble. Even Si Lianghong, the old witch who had transformed into a blood demon and lived for hundreds of years, was ranked below Xiang Pangyun in the Dragon Mountain list. The ranking of the Dragon Mountain list was very precise. Very quickly, the assassin was confirmed. He was an extremely powerful assassin, codenamed Wind Demon. In an ordinary-looking but slightly spacious courtyard in the county city, it was brightly lit. 5 figures were gathered together, sitting and chatting. "Big brother, I will bring third brother and the others over." A skinny man wearing a silver-gray soft armor with a strange bronze breastplate on his chest, with half of his face covered by a silver-gray mask, sat at the side and advised. "This kind of small assassination mission is too easy. Although the information said that Dongwu Shuang might be a legend ranker, haha, he is only 22 years old." "A 22 years old legend ranker? How is that possible? Even if he really is one, he can't do anything to me." The skinny man grinned. "Big brother, you don't have to come out. He was Wind Demon, a terrifying assassin with the combat strength of a legend ranker." "That's right, big brother. Furthermore, the 3 of us will help," a white-haired mage also advised. As a Silver Moon mage, they were all extremely arrogant. But in front of their big brother, no one dared to be arrogant. Sitting at the head of the table was a sturdy man wearing a loose dark red robe. His robe was loose, slightly exposing part of his chest. His height was only about 1.9 meters. Although he was considered strong, he was far from being comparable to the god's messenger that Dongwu Shuang had met before. That god's messenger had a monstrous body. But in terms of pressure, this sturdy man sitting there gave off an invisible pressure that was much stronger than the god's messenger from before. That god's messenger was like a little kitten, while this sturdy man was like a peerless beast. His baleful aura was incomparably heavy. His baleful aura was forged from killing after killing. Assassins usually hid their identity, but he didn't care about revealing his identity. Because he had accepted the Bloodshed Tavern's missions, nobody could find trouble with him. Wind Demon was also a powerful expert, but in front of his big brother, he didn't even dare to breathe loudly. "That old witch Si Lianghong has always been hiding. I wanted to play with her, but she refused to come out. It's been a while since I've moved my bones and muscles, so I'm itching. This time, I'll go with you to take a look. If the mission is easy, you guys can solve it. If that Dongwu Shuang is really a legend ranker, then I'll have a plaything." This sturdy man laughed casually. Both his eyes were suffused with a blood-red color. This was the result of his cultivation of Do Qi. He was the #1 expert in the entire Azure River County, and also the most terrifying assassin, Xiang Pangyun. All right. Since Big Brother wants to go, then let's go. This mission is actually very easy. I don't think Big Brother will even need to take action." Wind Demon laughed and teased. "Since it's decided, we'll set off for Water Rights Town's Snow Eagle territory tomorrow morning." Xiang Pangyun immediately stood up and ordered. "Yes." Wind Demon and the other 3 replied.